2025 was the best year of my life, but I got to be honest, 26 is, without even trying, being so much better. And I think it's because I'm not trying, actually. I think 25, I felt like my energy was a lot about trying to prove something, to show that I had overcome something. And 26 feels more like I'm just going through it. This is me, unfiltered, without trying. Some things will fail, some things will succeed. And you get to see both of those things and judge for yourself what you like. And that's the tough part about sort of putting yourself out there, is that you have to accept that some things are not going to land. Some things you're going to get ripped apart for. Some things you're going to get praised for. But ultimately, I like what I'm doing, for the most part. And sometimes I just feel like if something feels like a chore, or if it feels like homework, then it shouldn't be put out there. I want these things to come off naturally. This isn't, recorded. I have a list here of just ideas. I don't even, it's not like I spend time. It's like I set up the whole thing here. I move the tables. I set up the lights, the sign, whatever, the angle of the camera, everything. And then I just sit down for like less than 5 minutes, and I come up with like a list of things. And the funny part is I'll go through these items, and I just won't even talk about like 80% of them. So I think just letting go of an agenda and letting go of this idea of what things are supposed to be, what my outcomes are supposed to be, has made me feel more successful, because I'm happy with trying and failing. I'm not basing my happiness based off of the success that I get. And that's what 26 has felt like. And compared to 25, it was all about results. It was like, I wanted to get the apartment. I wanted to get the pod going. I wanted to post the special. They were all very results based goals. This year, it's like I'm okay with just not knowing what things are. So when I made my bucket list for this year, I left it even more open-ended. There are still some things I wanted to achieve, which I did, but there are so many more where I start one thing and it becomes into another, and it opens up a different avenue of things that I explore myself. When I moved back from New York, it was so hard to let go of that identity of being a stand-up, and I just wasn't feeling funny. I wasn't on top of, I just wasn't feeling good. And when you're not feeling funny or good, you don't want to get on stage, because you give off that energy. Whatever you're feeling inside, audiences pick up on it. You can read a perfect script of something that will land, but they'll know that something's off. And so that's what was happening when I tried to force stand-up when I moved back from New York. And I haven't. I learned to just let go of wanting that identity, because I wanted to. What I've always wanted, stand-up is one avenue of creation that I've always wanted to express myself in some way, right? And that can be done in so many mediums. And once I let go of that, even after moving to LA, I held on to that, because, it's 2.5 years. I'm sitting on a special. I'm posting clips of this special that I taped in 23. It's been 3 years now. In a couple weeks, it'll be 3 years since I taped that special. That's the last time that I took stand-up as seriously as I wanted to. And ever since then, it's been, I just haven't done it. And so it feels kind of like imposter syndrome. Like, am I really this person? I don't know the answer, but I've always stood by that. I don't like to force things. I don't like to I don't like to put a regiment on the things that I should achieve creatively. I think if I'm feeling something, that I'll do it. Um, and it's always brought me success. And it might be different for a lot of people. A lot of people, they get results based on numbers, and they want to increase their numbers, so they hit a certain number of mics, number of shows. They write a certain number of times a day, number of jokes that they want to write. But I've always felt the process hit a lot harder for me when I let go of all that. Because as soon as it stops being fun for me, that's when it the art doesn't shine. It's not something that I want to share, because I want to share things that are fun for me. Um, and I realize I can do that off the stage so much easier. Um, and that's and that's led to this year where I just let go. I mean, there's so many stages of letting go. So I let go of the identity of being a stand-up, and I just let myself be whatever I was in the moment. I didn't feel like a funny man, so I stopped trying to be that. And when I moved here, I realized there were so many things that I had to catch up on first before I felt like going back into that creative sphere. I had to get my life in order. I had to get the roof over my head. I had to, get some savings. I had to build this environment around me. I had to get my feet in the water first, instead of just trying to go all the way and get back to where I was. Because I don't feel a rush. I see people surpass me all the time in so many avenues of life, career, financially, romantically, creatively. But the feeling of jealousy is very, very short-lived, because ultimately, when you like who you are and you like where you're at, the jealousy, it comes very fast and then it goes very fast, because you're like, yeah, oh my God, I wish that was me. And then you're like, yeah, but I like where I am. I like who I am. And I wouldn't be those things if I had what this other person had. So I like what I'm doing, even if I don't know what that is right now. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there is going to be a point where I really know, but maybe 30, entering 30s is going to be a bit more of that, because I'm thinking back on my 20s now, and I don't even remember turning 20. Like, I don't remember what I did for my 20th birthday. I remember 19. I was in college when I turned 20. I think, holy shit, I don't even, it's been so long. At some point I got engaged, took a 5th year in college, and then started that whole journey on stand up and moving to New York. And it was just so young and unfiltered, and a little bit too open with my thoughts. I let so many people into my life, and I learned a lot of things from doing that in my naivety and youth. So it felt very experimental. I was trying a bunch of new things artistically. I was trying to get, the whole return to expression started with just trying to get into freestyling, and it felt fun. It felt good. There were moments where I was able to do it, but then it just felt like I was trying to be something I'm not. So I started getting into sketching again and painting, and then felt closer. It felt like there's something here, and that one day that I went to do stand-up, that was the closest feeling I ever got to feeling like an identity is really a part of it. Like, this is it. And I zoned in so hard on that, made it my everything. Kind of the same way I did with tennis. Growing up, I was like, this is it. And in a way, I repeated this mistake that I did in my youth, which was put all my eggs in one basket and kind of bet on it. There are pros and cons to that. I felt like I liked the results you get from going all in on something, but when you lose big. And now in my 30s, I feel like diversification and letting go and letting the smaller successes build over time is a lot more rewarding. And sometimes I just get bored of doing one thing over and over again. There's a certain level of obsession that's required for success in the creative world. But you need to try so many different things before you can figure out which one you're going to hone in on. And stand-up was one phase of this. Now coming here, it's been this process of letting go of just post the clip. Like I stopped obsessing over when the captions were going to line up with the thing. I started putting automated captions on because I realized it was more important to me to get something out there into the world than it was to just have it be this perfect little thing. Because when your idea of perfection holds you back from putting things out there, that's when I think it becomes bad. Especially for short form content. There are some things that I need to be, if it's a longer form, I think you have to line up the level of effort and meticulous process with the format of what you're creating, right? So if you're creating a movie or an animated short, I think, yes, that is something you take hours, weeks, months, the special, right? But when it comes to doing shorter things, kind of building your brand and putting stuff out there just for the world to see you for a very short amount of time. I mean, I've learned to just let go and just let the people judge, because they're not going to see you the way that you see you. So I stopped obsessing over the little details. Like the captions. I started playing around with the editing. I started trying to do a bit more cuts, trying to see, I was observing what other people did that made their videos so successful and viral, and just even implementing, I wouldn't say implementing, just trying different things is what kept things fresh, because I had a routine, and I was like, in the beginning, I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and I want to do this style of clip. I'm going to have this opener, this opening grabbing line, and then I'm going to end it with, the same 3 slides, like watch the full special, link in bio, whatever, and then put, Neel stands up. But I like the consistency, but it got stale for me, and I just wanted to keep things fresh. So I started playing around, and I realized just letting go of the feeling of because if, again, it was turning into homework, I was like, I have like an hour of footage. Like, I got to turn this into 30 to 60 second clips. Like, how much time is that going to take? Each clip takes me so long. And then, I do all that work for 4 to 5 hours of editing one clip. It's faster now, but it took time in the beginning because I was learning how to speed up my process for editing everything. And then, it would take hours to do in the beginning, and then I would post it, and then it would get like 300 views, and that's really defeating because you spend so many years, right? So if you really think about what it took to get that specific form of content out, It was years. It, in a way, it was building up my whole life, right? So I went through this whole journey, and then I discovered that this was my passion for stand up. And then I actually tried it out, and then I failed and succeeded. And then I wrote an hour of material, and then I rehearsed the material, and then I actually taped it. I dropped, almost all my savings into getting this equipment. And then I taped it. I collaborated with my friend to help me tape it and then record it and then process and edit it and then turn it into a short form content. And then I post that after years and years and years. I'm 29 years old and I post it and it gets 400 views. So that was like, wow, that's all it was, And that's what I mean by basing things off of results, right? If you look at the results of something and that determines your happiness in terms of creation, I think you're drawing inspiration and happiness from the wrong place, because it took me a while this year, but I finally got to a place where I'm like, yes, of course. Why would they? Just let it happen. Some of them get 100 views. I posted a clip, something that I spent 8 to 9 hours just scrutinizing over, trying to get the exact cuts in place, exact zooms. At this point, I was playing around with slow motion, and I posted it. And for some reason, I have no idea. There was no swearing. There was no. It was a clean clip, right? It got, I think, 6 views on YouTube, and I was like looking at it. I was like, "There's no fucking way! Like, what? Why is it?" This is like they actively were just like, you know what? Fuck this guy. Fuck him. Don't even show it to people. You know what? Just keep it there. Not even double digits. Don't even give him 10 views. Keep it at 6. And I looked at it, and it's been months, and it's still sitting there. And I was so convinced that it was a amazing thing, and I was like, Dave, the system's against me, so I deleted it and I re-uploaded it, and it got like 9 views. So I, and then I just let go of it. I'm like, you know what? It's up there. If someone wants to click on it and look at it, it's there. And that it was frustrating at first, but I just let go, because at the end of the day, I realized, why did I do that? Why did I spend so many hours? And that I realized there is, once I set the end result, that's when I start getting self-conscious about it. It just erases everything that I did in the past, right? So I realized the reason I did it was because I wanted to learn a bit more about editing. I wanted to learn a bit more about myself. I wanted to explore different avenues of creation, because I love the fact that you can record something, get footage, and every part of the process of creation, down to figuring out what angle you want the camera, what framing you want the video to be, all the way to actually capturing it and then performing in front of the camera, and then taking that footage and then deciding which ones to use, which ones not to use, and then you bring in music into it. At every step of the process, you're able to insert your vision, your creativity. So I used to think that just doing the performance was the creative part, but I realized I enjoyed the entire step, all of them. From capturing it to setting it up to recording to editing. And editing was another one aspect of this creation that I leaned into. I started getting. I realized I'm having fun doing this, right? So that's why that's what it was for, right? It wasn't for the views. I mean, they're a great metric of how you're doing, but somehow I just feel like in the beginning, you don't deserve them. It just feels like in the beginning, you got to figure out yourself what it is. And the more you let go of it, the more they'll come naturally. So it's been great. It's been a great release. And I'm doing it mainly for me. I mean, I don't really revisit a whole lot of my clips once I put it up there. Before I used to go back and I used to see like who's been watching it, who's been liking it. And now I just upload it and then, I'll check it maybe once or twice, make sure there's no mistakes or something like that. But then I rarely go back and look at it because I find that going back and kind of getting lost in the past, even if it was just yesterday, it holds me back from thinking about today or tomorrow. And it's been nice to increase the frequency that I've been putting stuff out there, just whatever form, whatever. And it's not even limited to stand up and podcasting anymore, which is great. I've just realized that there's so many things that I do in everyday life that I just want to share. And this is what I mean about just accepting all forms of content. It doesn't have to be a performance every time, right? Sometimes it's great to just share what's going on. I uploaded a little video of my cat the other day, and it was funny because I have so many videos of my cat that I just take and I keep for myself. But this time, he messed up like the paper towel rolls. He always does this. He gets, when it's like 5 o'clock, his feeding time is 6, right? But at 5 o'clock, he starts getting up there and he gives me like a warning meow. And then he'll like look at me and he'll stand right next to my paper towels. And then if I don't respond or if I ignore him, he starts swatting at the paper towels and he unravels. He knows which way to swat it so that it unravels. And then he tears up the entire thing by the time it's 6 o'clock. So I got a video of him doing that, and he's just sitting there all happy with himself. And I took a video of it and I uploaded it. It was way more dude, it got so many likes and shares and reposts, and I was just like, oh, my cat's more viral than I am, which was funny. And I think this is a trap that a lot of people get into, is like listening too hard to what works in the algo. My immediate reaction was like, I gotta post another video of my cat. But then I realized, I'm like, nah, that was cool. And I posted it because I wanted to post it. I thought it was funny. He just looks so innocent after destroying this entire roll of paper towels. But immediately I realized, again, I was focusing, because when I uploaded it, I was letting go. I was like, I had no expectations. I was just like, this is funny to me. So I posted it on my account. And it was the first, I think I started getting more comfortable posting stuff that wasn't stand-up and podcast related. So when I shared that, it felt good. I'm like, oh, it feels like I opened up a whole new door of like possibilities for what I have to show everyone. And I wasn't thinking about any of the response. I wasn't thinking like, man, I hope this person sees it and finally like has respect for me, or like, I hope people can see like that I'm, doing this or whatever. It was more like, it was just funny to me, and I posted it without even thinking. And it was so much more successful than everything else. And I could have just easily responded to this and just been like, I got to post another cat video. But then I was just like, what made it successful for me wasn't the fact that it was my cat. It was the fact that I enjoyed something organically and shared it without a second thought. And I think chasing that feeling more than chasing what works for others ultimately will bring me the success that I want, along with the fulfillment. Because really what I'm chasing is feeling fulfilled, right? I couldn't tell you why I do the things that I do, because people filled their lives up with so many random activities. So I don't know why I'm sitting here in my apartment alone with the blinds closed, the lights set up, and a camera here. I could be out. It's a Saturday. You know what I mean? Like, people go out and do shit with their friends, with their significant others. I couldn't tell you why I chose to do this, right? Some part of me must clearly prefer this over going out and catching a game, or, doing something else, being social, getting out of the house. And I don't think I need to know the answer to that either. I think it's okay to just not fully understand it. emotions drive so much of creation. At the end of the day, when you make art, when you put yourself into something, you're trying to evoke emotion by pouring some of yours into what it is that you're sharing. And at the same time, you have to remember that being overly emotional can take away from your success. So let it it's almost like you pour yourself into something, and then once it's out there, you detach from it, right? That's kind of how I've been seeing things. That's how I've been trying to act more like a filter, and just letting things go through me rather than a dam that blocks water off. Because the water's always going to be there. And the waves are going to be turbulent one day. They're going to fluctuate. Sometimes they're calm. But no matter what, I want to let things pass through me. I still want to feel them because I don't want to block them off. I think that's what I'm returning to as of late. You know, I when I got divorced, I stopped being able to feel on a deep level, and it felt like a switch. And I didn't do it consciously. It felt like a deeply rooted pit, kind of just in between where my chest and my stomach is. It felt like there was kind of a concentration of like a black hole that was forming a very dense pit, sucking in any form of emotion, happiness or sadness. And maybe that was my response to just trying to move on. Sometimes I feel like as a dude, you have to put one foot in front of the other, and find a way forward. And a lot of times if you focus too hard on what you're feeling, you're not going to be able to put that next foot forward. So after the divorce, I focused on so many things that I had to do, which I think is why I was so used to the results-based happiness, because after that, I knew that, okay, if I can just get the paperwork finalized, that's a step forward. If I can figure out how to pack all my things with my in my apartment with my brace on my leg, I just had surgery. Then that's a step forward. If I can figure out how to ship these things, if I can figure out how to get on the plane and then get home, if I can figure out how to get this job, apartment, everything. So I didn't let myself feel for almost 3 years now. And specifically, I noticed that I wasn't able to cry. I wasn't able to get tears from my face. And before, I was very, very in tune with my emotions. If I felt happy, I felt really happy. If I felt sad, I felt really sad. I was able to watch movies and cry of happiness when something was so funny that it would flow out like so many tears. And then if something was sad, I watched a really sad scene or a movie, I let myself feel that too, and I let the tears come out too. But for some reason, and I couldn't do it after the divorce. And it was weird because I was like, is this just forever now? Am I just gonna never be able to feel again? And it was like that for 3 years. I would watch movies. I remember I was watching Spirited Away, one of my favorite movies of all time, ever since I was a kid. Must have seen it over 50 times now. I was watching it after the divorce, maybe a year later. And I was watching it, and, it's a story of it's a coming of age film to me, and it highlights the struggle of kind of going out on your own, figuring things out in the world, finding out things don't make sense and you have to try to make sense of them. And this feeling brought a lot of sadness to me in a good way. It was like a resonating feeling of I relate to this. I've tried things in life and it's so hard. And I don't know whether this person I can trust or not. I just have to figure it out. And that used to make me feel so sad. And I remember watching it a year after the divorce, and I wanted to cry. I knew that almost all the time, like, this scene makes me cry. And I couldn't do it. And I would feel it come up, that little pit. It would rise up. But then as soon as it got to right about here, I didn't even try, but it would just push it down all the way back in. And I didn't have any control over it. And it was like that for so many things. I would get incredibly sad. One of my friends, I've had people pass away, and people have called me with terrible news, things that have really shocked them to the core. And I wasn't able to empathize fully because I wasn't feeling. I was forcing myself to, as soon as I felt any sort of sadness or happiness, I just would shove it down because I felt like I haven't achieved some metric of success to let myself feel again. And I didn't realize all of this was happening. This is all, in the moments I would come close. I'd be like, this is weird. Usually I would feel something, but I don't. I felt numb, and I was feeling good because I was achieving things too towards the end of it. In the last year, especially 25. I did so much. I did almost everything that I wanted to do, that I set out to do. I did, and yet I didn't. Now looking back on it, even though I felt really good and happy, I feel like I wasn't fully allowing myself to really absorb all these emotions. I didn't realize this until 2 weeks. No, not even like last week. Last week, I came home from work. It was a fantastic week, productive week. I had been traveling a lot this year. Went on several trips, and I'm still exploring this idea of letting go and creation, and I'm posting more, and I'm really getting into this new identity that I'm enjoying. I'm meeting new people. On paper, everything is phenomenal, right? So last week it was it was a great week, and I've been exercising, losing weight. Everything's going great. And then I came home from work on Thursday, and I was feeling kind of sore, so I was just like, I could use a rest day, but I was feeling a little guilty because I ate something a little bit extra sweet treats the night before, so I was like, I should go to the gym. But then I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me just take an edible and then throw on a movie or something, and then if I feel like going to the gym after, I'll go. And I popped an edible, grabbed a seltzer, sat down, turned the lights off, and then I put on Flow, this movie that it's been on my list for so long, and I just never really felt like watching it. But then I saw it, and then I was like, oh yeah, this has been on my list for 2 years now. Let me just watch it. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, man. It was beautiful. It was really one of the most beautiful movies I've seen this year. And I couldn't believe that it was all done in Blender, which was really inspiring too, because that's something that I could do. I love these reminders when you see somebody do something with the same means as you, achieve something with so much success. But this movie was similar to Spirited Away for me, because it was like, and I don't want to, you can skip this part if you don't want spoilers, but it just felt like this cat was discovering things in life, and discovering again who to trust, how to go about survival. Um, and I don't know why, but I felt that feeling again as I was going through the film. That pit was rising up from my chest, and it was getting up to right here. And something inside of me said, you know what? This time, I want to stop that feeling of trying to push it down, because I wasn't even able to understand it. Because about 45 minutes into the movie, I was like, is this sad? Why do I feel like this is sad? And it just felt like when I went into the movie, my mentality was just like, this is probably just a really cute movie about this cat, and I love cats. I'm probably just gonna like it because they probably get the characteristics of a cat in a playful way. But then I felt this overwhelming sense of sadness overtake me, and I realized I was trying to push it down again, and I stopped for once. In 3 years, I got myself to stop pushing it down, and finally, a couple of tears rolled down my face, and I was like, "Whoa!" And it stopped, and I was like, "Wow, what a breakthrough!" 3 years, I haven't had any tears roll down my face, but for some reason, this movie gave me this space to experience emotion again on such a deep level. And then maybe 5-10 minutes go by, and I think it was the scene where I think it was the bird passes away, right? And then the cat realizes, like, the friends he had, they weren't perfect, they had conflict, and once he loses this bird, the bird that tried to feed him and befriend him, he realized that after losing that despite the imperfections of dynamics of friends, it's better to be with an imperfect group than it is to be by yourself and alone. Losing that friend drove a sense of loneliness, and it started running back trying to find its friends, and that completely broke me. It just completely destroyed me, and I just started full on crying, and there's no words in this movie. Like, that's what's so beautiful about it. It was just all purely shown, and it somehow captured so much of what I was feeling. So much of the past 3 years, I felt in this movie. Just the impermanence of life, people, the complexity of the people around you, not wanting to be alone. No one wants to be alone. I mean, we all want companionship, but we have this idea of perfection, but everyone's flawed, and despite that, you want them around you, and you appreciate it because life is so short. They're not there forever. You never know when you're going to be robbed of that. That struck me to my core, man, and it allowed me this space to really feel. I mean, it came in waves, but towards the end of the film, I was full on bawling, and I know it was so out of the blue. I was like, what caused this? Why did this happen on a random Thursday 3 years after the fact, but I don't know why. I don't know if I need to know why, but I felt so light after that. It was like I had a bandana on, and it was compressing my head for 3 years, and then I finally took it off, and now my head was it was expanding. It felt like relief, and then it felt like there was something on my traps, like weighing me down like a vest, and I just let go, and I kind of stretched it out, and I felt so light and free and felt good. I didn't go to the gym, obviously. After something like that, I don't think I can lock back in and start doing kettlebell workouts. But I just sat there in my chair, and I was thinking about, I was just sitting there thinking about all these scenes and what they made me feel. I do that a lot for so many movies, you know. I love to just think about it after. Even in the coming days, I haven't stopped thinking about this movie since I put it on. I just ended up ordering some food and then just sitting with my thoughts the rest of the evening and just feeling really good. I felt really, really good because I felt like I had a genuine breakthrough. And it wasn't something that I had planned. It wasn't something that I thought like, oh my God, let me set aside my evening on Thursday to finally experience emotions again on such a raw level. Wasn't like that. And ever since then, I've been feeling so free. It really felt like a monumental shift in my internal energy. Now, I don't feel that pit in here anymore. I mean, it just feels like it's letting go. It was sucking in so many things before, but now it almost feels like a star that reached its maximum capacity and exploded. That's what it felt like, and now it's just letting it all out. So now I'm laughing even harder at comedy movies that I'm watching. I'm editing my own clips, and I'm like laughing harder because it's just funny to me, this idea like, oh, it'd be funny if I put slow motion here, and I'm sitting there on my laptop editing it, I'm laughing. I'm whatever emotions I've already felt up until this point, that experience, it felt like it just opened the floodgates for me experiencing life to the fullest again. And again, I don't think I need to understand why. Maybe it was just the timing. Maybe it was the movie was just that beautiful that it was finally able to unravel all this stuff for me. But whatever it was, it was just I loved it. Definitely a highlight of this year and of my life, really. I think letting go of that pent up emotions is gonna serve me so well moving forward. Yeah, and it kind of lines up with the letting go of the judgment of the stuff that I put out there, right? So letting go of the pent up emotions seems to have lined up with letting go of the judgment that I feel for how others perceive me. And I think they go hand in hand in some way. So since then, I've been feeling more like a return to myself. I've been feeling like going out to go to open mics again. I haven't done it, but I've come close to, I've almost signed up for a couple. But that's something I haven't even done in the last 2 years, really since I taped the special. So I can feel myself returning to who I was, what I'm about. I feel like doing different things too. I feel like doing sketches. I feel like doing more with sketching with my pens. I feel like getting into new experiences without fully having an expectation of what they'll return. In the form of like just learning a language. Not everything needs to result in, it's not like I'm learning this language so that I can tape myself talking in Japanese or whatever and then have people view me in a different way, right? So I'm just doing it and then seeing what happens later. Like I want to just want to whatever I'm doing anyways, like just filming my workouts, trying to make a video of them. That was something that I did too. After the cat video, I was like, you know what? This was just so like off the cuff. And I just felt like doing it. You know, what would be cool is if I made a cool edit of some of my workouts. And I did. And it felt good, you know, because that was something that I wanted to do. It wasn't like, oh, I need to post a video today. Otherwise, I'm not going to pick up the algorithm. It's not going to, you know, I just did it because I was like, this is a cool idea. Maybe I should just see what happens if I tried to do it. And it felt great. I realized a lot of for me at least, creation, it's a lot easier when you remove certain things that are friction. So a lot of my editing I do on my laptop, and I usually use Premiere Pro, but it's been great just experimenting with editing apps on my phone, because anyways, at night, you know, after a long day of work, staring at a big screen, after, you know, trying to cut all day because I've been in a huge cutting phase, I want to do things that keep my brain active. Otherwise I just start resorting to eating food. After going to the gym, I'm tired. I don't want to sit in front of my computer, right? So I've removed that friction by just experimenting with different editing apps on my phone, because anyways, I'm laying in bed, I'm doom scrolling, I'm watching hilarious clips for like hours until like 3 a.m. So I'm like, what if I just even if I just took 1 hour of doom scrolling and I just was on my phone just trying to edit something? That would be so much better. And now I'm laying down, my body's at ease, it's resting, you know, because it's easy to just like get hauled up, like, a lot of tension in your upper neck here when you're on your laptop. So I removed that friction of like, I don't have to edit everything on my laptop. I can experiment. And this, again, like, why limit yourself to just one thing, right? So I just started doing that on my phone. It started actually with the auditions. So for all these commercial and print stuff, all the voiceovers, well, not the voice, but I would have to edit them really fast. And at first I was like, this is taking forever because I got to, you know, airdrop the videos to my laptop, and then I got to edit it in Premiere Pro and then re-export it and then get it on my phone. Then I just was like, what if I just cut all that out? And then I started doing all the auditioning and taping and editing through my phone itself and on the apps that I have. I think it was Canva at first. Is it Canva? I don't know. There's a different app that I use for auditions that it's super easy to... CapCut. I use CapCut to do all my self-tapes and everything like that and submit them. And it was so much easier, you know? And I realized I didn't need the complexity of Premiere Pro for so many things. And I'm starting to realize that for every project, you need to match the vibe of the effort, right? Kind of like what I was saying before about the movies versus like short form content, right? So movies, yeah, Premiere Pro. Podcasting, sure, yeah, you know. But when it comes to like really short clips, like what's stopping you from using something that's mid tier, right? CapCut, or even you know what's actually excellent is the Edits app has been really great, because that's so specifically tiered towards vertical content for social media, specifically for Instagram. But I use that and then I export it and then I use it for all, you know, for TikTok and for YouTube Shorts. So that's been really, really helpful, and it's been removing the friction for whatever I feel, because if you can just stop, there's so many points of friction in the creation process. If you can just remove them and get yourself to put more stuff out there easier, it becomes then you get results faster, and you get feedback faster that way. So I've been doing that at night now. Instead of just doom scrolling for 4 hours, I edit for maybe 1 to 2, and then I doom scroll for the rest. But yeah, I mean, that's something. I don't know why I had that mental block. I've always felt like some things have to be a certain way. If I'm gonna do something, I got to do it all the way. If I'm gonna edit clips, I'm gonna edit with Premiere Pro. If I'm gonna tape something, it has to be in 4K. Um, if I post content, it has to be this absolute representation of who I am. Otherwise, it's not gonna be worth it. I have to delete everything and start over if it's not perfect. And embracing the imperfections of everything, and embracing the idea that not everything needs to be a 10 out of 10. Great, man. Because I used to want this aesthetic online. I used to want this perfect grid. I wanted this perfect thing where, like, if you go on my page, every video is a banger. I just letting go it's brought me so much happiness, so much fulfillment, which is really what I'm doing this for. I just want to feel like I'm doing something that is making me feel like I'm living life. I don't want to feel like I'm just living for somebody else. And that's a weird thing to reconcile with, because when you're performing in any sense, you're obviously relying on other people's opinions and their reaction to you. But again, they're picking up on what you're feeling, right? So if you're not giving the energy that you're feeling what you're doing, then I don't think other people will. I realized letting go of the feeling of perfection and letting go of people's perception of me, it's increased confidence in so many areas of my life. I feel really comfortable talking to people. I feel comfortable confronting people I already know and talk to. I feel comfortable letting people go who don't really get it. I stopped trying to convince people what I'm about. You either get it or you don't. And it's not really my job to explain it all to you. I'm not going to hold everybody's hand. Because I realize that the way that I treat people, I don't fully understand anybody. But I try to pick up on it and pick up if they're, a decent person. And if are they trying to do something? I don't have to understand what it is, but if they're trying to do something, and it doesn't even have to be performative, they can just be doing something on their own, Do they have a goal that they're trying to achieve? Because that's the kind of person that I'm gonna relate to at the end of the day. I think I've stopped being able to relate to people who don't have that drive, who don't have that they don't have that direction yet. And it's not like it's not a negative thing, but it's just I've noticed that it's been harder for me to relate. And it's weird because I used to be that person too. And I think I used to feel bad because I'm like, I know where this person is. I used to be there, right? So I should be nice and I should be accommodating and I should be guiding them. But I stopped doing that. I stopped feeling like I had to feel bad for people not aligning with me. I don't like I said, I just stopped forcing it. And I stopped explaining myself, and I realized that people who have known me for my whole life, even high school, college, even in New York, at every phase, I would say those three phases, right? High school, college, and then in New York, those are three separate phases. And then this feels like the fourth phase, LA. The way that people in LA see me is so different because they don't have this this context of who I was back in those first three phases. They're just seeing this for the first time. The first impression is this fourth phase, right? It's like they're starting The Simpsons on season 4. Right? And they're not seeing how Homer's voice changed. They're not seeing how the animation for Bart changed, how the shapes got more refined over the years. They started sort of when things were picking up and when things were going great. So I've noticed that people's perception of me, from when, if they meet me now, it's completely different than people from my past. And I think that's really interesting because I started to think about how do I view people from my past, and because a lot of people do redefine themselves. A lot of people these days, everybody's got a second page. Everybody's got a second a side hustle they're trying to do. Not everyone, you need that to really. I think you kind of need to do something besides your 9 to 5 these days. I mean, life is too expensive, and people have so much more to offer than their jobs. And I've seen people reinvent themselves, trying to show a different side of themselves. And I realized I'm doing the same thing too. I'm viewing this person with the context of who they were in the past, and now I'm looking at their stuff differently. But I think it's really cool because I'm also now able to see, if I didn't know this person, and I come across their stuff, like if it was just new, I'm like, oh, this is actually way cooler. But I'm viewing it, they're doing great. And what I'm realizing is, like, because I knew them in this awkward phase of like development and self-discovery, it's kind of changed how I saw their new stuff. So I just had to I'm like, oh, that's happening with me too, though, right? Because I was doing all this stuff, but I never put myself out there, online at least, for judgment, for viewing. So all that people know of you is what you show them, and showing them a lot more now has really changed my relationship with people from my past. And it has brought so many different sorts of people into my life now in the present. And I think if I just continue on this track, as sad as it is to say, I think some people are just gonna be left behind, just in my memories. And they're not. It's not like I don't like them. It's not like they did me wrong. It's just it feels like a natural evolution. Again, like the filter. It feels like I'm just letting things pass. And I'm not just building a dam trying to keep them on this side. Like, you have to stick with me on this journey. Some of them will. Some of them won't. And it's been cool to see who sticks around and who gets it, without me having to say anything. Because before, I was overly trying to explain everything. Sometimes people would DM me, like, when I would post a joke, very rarely, right, in New York, I would post a joke. And then there was always just like a couple people that would DM me, like, a lot of them were supportive. For real, a lot of them were just like, dude, it's so cool, like, to see you do this. But then there was always a couple of them that were just like, I don't think that was funny. Like, why are you doing this? Very direct too. You would think that people would not be so directly negative towards you, but a lot of people are very comfortable doing that. I don't get this. Can you explain it? Like, why did you think this was funny? Clearly offended. And I would sit there and I would respond, and I would be like, no, you don't get, because I would think like, oh, if they just understood where I'm coming from, they would see that it's funny, and I would explain it to them. And then it was just, I realize now, like, that's part of the wisdom of like approaching 30, is like, nothing you say would ever convince that type of person, right? They either get it or they don't. That type of person who feels so confidently to judge you to your face and say something like that to you, that's the type of person who has never tried to do anything themselves, right? Because that's what determines whether people will get you or whether they won't get you. Is there will be a certain understanding amongst people who have tried to do something and have put themselves out there. And no one who has ever tried and failed at something will ever judge you negatively for doing the same. I promise you. If they still do, then they haven't failed enough, because it's so humbling, this process. It doesn't have to be whatever this is. I'm talking about, like, even starting a business, starting a side hustle, just trying something new, maybe a career change. a lot of those people who are gonna hold you back to your old ways of thinking, that one-dimensional thinking, are people who have never left that way of thinking. They're still stuck in that high school mindset. They're still stuck in that tribalism mindset. They're stuck in like this box, right? It really pisses people off when you start to break out of that box, because what you're doing is you're reminding them that it's possible to branch out and to do different things and to have a vision and then actually achieve it. When you start doing the things that you're doing and being happy about it, and you don't care about the success, that really upsets a lot of people, because you're really holding a mirror up to them and being like, yeah, you could too, and you're not. And that's not what you're doing intentionally, but that's how they choose to view it, right? And again, I think anybody who does anything where they try, they'll understand. And those are the people you want to keep around you. You want to keep those kinds of people around you, and they're not going to come from your past. Some of them will always be on your side, and those people are very rare. Those people are called really good friends. But even some of those, they're not going to get it. They'll purposefully misunderstand it. And it's all good, because when those people go away, it makes room for others to enter. I've always sort of understood this. I moved around a lot when I was a kid. My dad was a consultant, so every year we'd go to a new school district. Every year I'd meet new friends. And there was no social media back then. There was no real way for me to keep in touch. Maybe I had a phone number. But even as a kid, I understood it's been too long. This person's not there. They're not going to get me. So in a way, I'm glad I went through that, because it kind of prepared me for stuff like this. I'm very okay now with people coming and going. People from the past show up again, usually when things are going well. And people in the future, they come your way. It's so rare for someone to really be there the whole time. If they are, they tend to ebb and flow. And those are the relationships I really appreciate, because when we catch up with each other, it's the same thing, We get it. It's been a while, but we just pick up right where we left off. And again, I stop. So much of relationships is trying to let go of the feeling of doing too much. You shouldn't have to try, right? You shouldn't have to go out of your way, incredibly so, to get people on your side. I just don't think you should. I think people are going to want to be with you. They're going to want to understand you, or whatever it is that they're thinking. If it's not that, then just leave it. That's been a pretty big theme of mine. On that same note, I realized that my friend actually, he was telling me this. Everybody in my life is very, very concerned for my romantic life. Everybody wants me to get married. Everybody wants me to start a family. And I'm just not there. Every conversation with my parents, my grandparents especially, family, friends, even my friends now, it inevitably turns into, so are you seeing anybody? When are you thinking about getting back on the scene? And I don't know how to tell people that I'm enjoying so much having money for once. I don't think you understand how much money and energy is lost to trying to find a life partner. I'm enjoying it so much, dude. Like, I think I've leveled up in so many ways because I've had this freedom financially and emotionally. I also don't want to force it. Again, same thing with art, same thing with relationships. you don't want to force it. If it happens, it happens, and it's great. It's wonderful. Let yourself feel it when it does happen. But a lot of my friends are concerned. Not concerned, but they want to see, it's coming from a good place, even from parents, grandparents, grandparents. Probably they're a little bit existential. They probably want to see their grandkid, get with someone. They want to see their great grandkids. So I understand that. It's a little sad. It's pretty sad, actually. It's really sad because I don't know if they will. You don't know how long people have, but at the same time, you can't be adjusting your whole life schedule based on that. So you do your best. But what I was saying was, my friend was telling me, he's like, he was trying to tell me, he's like, what is it that you want in your life partner? And I realized that I didn't really ask myself this question ever. I think I spent so long just being content with someone who wanted me, especially in my 20s, my teens and 20s, that I realized that in the same way that I can have whatever I want in my career and whatever I want artistically, I can also have that in a life partner. I don't have to take whatever comes my way. So he was asking me essentially, what are your standards? Like, hey dude, what do you want? What should this person do for you? And I've been so brainwashed into thinking that was such a menacing and horrible question. Like, a man should never, demand things. But there's nothing wrong with it. Having self-respect means you understand what you won't tolerate. And once I realized what I won't tolerate in my own personal life, what I won't tolerate in work, what I won't tolerate in my own friendships, it made it a lot easier to see what I won't tolerate in a partner. And I don't think I have the full answer yet, but what he was trying to get at is that whatever it is, whatever qualities or personality traits that I'm seeking in this other person, I can't find that just doing what I'm doing right now, which is being very by myself. There has to be a level of effort put out into the real world, going into spaces that I will naturally meet someone like this, right? If I want to meet somebody who, for example, is into tennis, right? I play tennis. Let's just say, for example, that was something that I wanted to do. I can't just do that by going and taking a bucket of balls and hitting serves by myself on the tennis court. Maybe, sure. What happens? The ball drifts onto the other court and I just bump into someone and I'm just like, you're my soulmate. Maybe, but I think it's more like being social, being actively social, joining groups. So in that example, this isn't a requirement of mine, but if just going off of that, I think the right choice would be like joining a tennis league, like a co-ed tennis league where it's all recreational and I meet people and you get along on this one thing, right? You start off with the base layer of like tennis is the thing you relate on, and then you find other things, and then you filter people out, and then you find your people, right? But what he was describing was a process of finding your tribe that I realized I've never given much thought to. I never actively tried to seek people out because I never had to. When I was in when I was in New York, I had a baseline level of friends, and so many people from the Bay move over there anyways. And so it was so easy to just meet people through my immediate network, right? I already had close friends there. I met their friends, and then they, it just branched off like that. So it was very easy. So I didn't feel the need to purposefully put myself in new social groups. And in the Bay, obviously, it's where high school, college, well, not college, but like, in high school, like I had a network in the Bay and I had a network in New York. But LA is very unique because I don't have that. I mean, I know people, but they're not my closest friends. And I realized instead of trying to turn some of these acquaintances into my friends, what I should do is just start new. Just find the things that I'm interested in, and then find people that are into those things, because that's, I think, the way for me, at least, to relate to people in the beginning. And I think this is true for friendships, and I think it's true for romantic partner. My friend was bringing it up about my partner. He's like, hey, listen, man, if you want her to, if you want her to also be into creative stuff, he's like, maybe you should go out and, take a class in a community college class where it's like you're learning animation or something like that. Like maybe you should take an art class. Maybe you should take a language class. Just get into activities, is what he was saying. He's like, don't coop yourself up in here all the time watching movies. Don't sit here like in your apartment and get too comfortable. He's like, you want to meet this person, you got to do it organically, because I think we're both on the same page about like the dating apps or whatever. It can feel a bit like LinkedIn. I haven't even set one up, but I mean, I'm looking at the way that my friends present themselves, and I'm just like, dude, this is not you though. Like it was such a weird form of like, I know it's you, but you are not this person who posts your favorite quote. Like it's just so weird. Like, you would never tell me your favorite quote, but now you put your favorite quote up on here. Like you even have a favorite quote. Like, what is this? Like, what is this picture from like 9 years ago, dude? Like, I don't get it. It feels too corporatized for me. And maybe, I know a lot of my friends have met that way, but I don't think I'm willing to do that just yet. So if I'm not going to do that, then I think, he's got a point. I gotta get myself into a place where I'm going to meet these people organically. And he mentioned it about a romantic partner, but I kind of feel that way. And I think that's true for friends as well. I think I got to explore these different things and try to find a way to be social about them. For a while I was doing this, like, my friend put me on this friendship group app thing. He was saying like when he moved to New York, he found a lot of success in terms of just meeting new people, finding something to do, right? So I tried it a couple of times, and it was cool. But I felt like there was a lack of the activity. I feel like the activities were a lot of like going to dinner, going to like a live show or whatever, like, a DJ in the back. There was one where it was like golf. That one felt kind of cool because I was already starting to get into golf. But then I realized not everyone there was seeing it like that. Like a lot of people were just seeing it as an activity, as an excuse to just meet people. So I wanted to be a bit more intentional and realize that I do have so many interests. Maybe I should just explore these interests in a social manner. Because those apps are just fantastic for meeting people. But if it's a numbers game you want, then those apps are great. But I think in terms of quality, in terms of like lining up interests, I think I'll have a lot more success. And I don't know, I think I'll have a lot more success if I try to do activity-based social groups. Tennis league, maybe billiards, maybe taking a class. Honestly, collaborating with people. If I like to do this, it's great that I meet other people that also, do some sort of podcasting or I think that's a big part of the return to stand up. For me, that would be like I'm meeting a whole bunch of people that are into the same thing. And admittedly, stand up is not exactly full of stable people, but I don't think I'm that stable to begin with. So maybe I'm a lot more like them than I'd like to admit. But either way, you know, I want to meet weird people. That's what interests me. I don't want to meet boilerplate people that don't have a direction anymore. Even though I was one of those people, it just isn't lining up with who I am or what I'm about. So I'm feeling that direction be a little bit more solidified along with other things in my life as I approach 30. And I guess in a way, this is probably going to be the last pod before I'm 30. The next pod I'm going to be 30. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that when I was, when I was young, I was like, when I'm 30, I'm going to feel old. I'm going to feel very tired. Because I would see people around me that were 30 in their mid 30s, and I would see them and they would be so old to me. I'd be like, wow, like what happened to you? You're so reserved. You're so, where did the passion go? I don't feel like that at all, though. Actually, I just feel the same, but with more confidence and with more care. 20s was so experimental, trying to figure out what worked and what didn't. And now, as I'm closing out that decade, I've found out a sequence of things that have worked. And now my 30s, at least in the beginning part, it kind of just feels like it took this entire process to finally actively do what I needed to do. Whatever success that I had in the first 29 years of my life, I think that same level of success will now be achieved in a much more compressed time frame because I'm actively learning from those mistakes, those experimental mistakes. So I think this phase from 30 to 35 is going to be explosive. I mean, just astronomically exponential growth. Because whatever I felt in this year, I mean, wow. What a payoff it's been. I mean, I could not have predicted any of this stuff. I could not have predicted that things were going to go so well for me when I came down to LA. And I didn't really know what that definition was, but I feel so much more like Neel. Like this is what Neel is than I ever have before in my life. I guess I might as well talk about some of the things that I've been up to this year. It's interesting. Usually I start out talking about that stuff, but yeah, this year was great, man. 2016, I started out in Oaxaca. That's how the year started out. I saw fireworks at midnight in Oaxaca on the rooftop of my hotel. I was drinking those mini Coronas, and I had a shot of mezcal. And it was funny because that whole Mexico trip, I was like, I need to celebrate New Year's Eve in a different country. But I was, for whatever reason, I was already so tired. And that day when I woke up, I was so exhausted from everything that I've been doing that I didn't even go out. I just had the New Year's to myself. It was beautiful though. I was just on a rooftop and I was watching fireworks. I couldn't believe it. There was no one else besides me on that rooftop. Even all the residents. They must have gone out. But I had that whole thing to myself and I was watching it and I was like, this is 2026. This is the first thing that I'm doing. So already it was off to a bang. You know what I mean? Like that. What a way to start a year. So that was great. I would definitely do that again. So that's how my year started out. Um, I came back. Took a little bit of time to get back into the rhythm, to get back into my routine. When you go out on a 2-week vacation, the last thing you want to do when you come back is go back to the gym and then get back on your diet, start meal prepping. That shit sucked, dude. Holy shit. Took me about a month to really get back into it. And this was I'd done so well cutting, doing the OMAD stuff. I had gone from 229, and then my best weight that I hit was 193.8. So about 37 pounds. Really, really happy for it. But January until now, I haven't found any way to go below that at all. I've just been fluctuating between 195 and 200. But I've started to care less about the number. Honestly, I'm just more responding to how do I feel? How do I look? How is my energy? How am I keeping on top of things? Am I creatively expressing myself? Am I thriving at work? Those things, they're better metrics than just a number on a scale. Ultimately, I still want to, there's still room for improvement. I think if I got down to 180, I'd be really, really happy. But, it happens when it happens. And I've the reason it's been so tough is because I've just been going out so much. I've been to, when people visit also, it's just impossible. It's impossible to stick to your diet, So one of my friends came in April. Dude, April and May were two of the heaviest months, like peak, dude. Like phenomenal life. Just week after week was just even better. It started out, my friend came, and then he stayed for about 10 days. And then we saw Kanye, his first show back in the States. It was just fucking unbelievable, bro. I still think about it like all the time. Like when I listen to his music now, it's just bringing me back to that night. And it was one of the best concerts I've ever seen in my life. I couldn't believe, and it was just a lifetime goal. Like I've just never been able to see this guy. The only time I had a chance was like Life of Pablo, and then that whole thing happened. And it went MIA, and then and this just felt like such a strong return. And then my friend came and visited for that, and obviously, we did the whole LA thing. Like we went out, we got drinks, we ate at very nice places, we got omakase. We just hung out, we fucked around. We went to Mulholland Drive. We drank a lot of brewskis, and when you have moments like that with a friend, hey man, fuck the diet. Like you don't need to go all the way, but you can let go a little bit, right? So I did that, and almost like I think a week after that, I went. My friend visited, the guy who taped my special. He visited from New York, and we went to a road trip. We did the Sequoia Mountains, and we did three technically. We hung out in Los Angeles. I showed him around. We're both big on food and stuff, so we ate good. We drank good, and then we went up to hike in Sequoia Mountains, and that was beautiful. I've never hiked outside of the terrain of the Bay Area or Los Angeles. So, and the Bays, some of the, like before this, my favorite hike ever was, it's not Bolinas Ridge, but it's in Mount Tamalpais. Steep Ravine, I think it's called Steep Ravine and Dipsy, and Matt Davis. That loop, beautiful loop. That was my favorite hike. And when we went to Sequoia Mountains, I was just shocked by how different a terrain could be because I'm so into hiking. I love it. For a long time, it was just a physical thing. Like I wanted to just burn calories, and the views were great. And when I got into hiking, it was honestly the reason I got into hiking was just like it was so simple. I was in high school, and then my friend introduced me to hiking, and the very first hike that I did was Las Trampas, um, and there's I don't remember the exact trail, but the trail he took me on was very tough. I mean, this guy was like peak fitness guy, and he took me on a very very long and strenuous trail. Um, but I remember getting up at the top of that hike, and I remember thinking like, "Whoa, it'd be super cool to smoke a joint up here." And that's how I started getting into hiking, is because I thought it would be really cool to go up, like climb up, and it's almost like you're working for that joint at the very end, at the top. And that's how my hiking journey started, and I just would do that anywhere, whether it was a small hike, a long hike. I would always bring a doobie with me, and I would spark it up at the top, and then I would enjoy the hike back down, with friends, alone. That's how my hiking journey started. But then, as I stopped smoking so much, I still wanted to do the hikes because the view at the top was just so rewarding. So I kept with that. But then when I went to Sequoia Mountains, it was beautiful. I've never hiked in snow. I'm so glad I had the right equipment. The shoes, the gear. I was warm. I had the coat, and he's into photography as well, so he had his gear as well. And we were hiking. We did we couldn't do the lakes, unfortunately. It was snowing a little bit too hard, which I was surprised. At the end of April, I couldn't believe that there was that much snow early May. But even though we couldn't do the lakes, we did what was the name? It was a sunrise hike we did. So we drove up that mountain from our Airbnb at like 4 in the morning. It'll come back to me. But we did a sunrise hike, and we got to the top, and it was just beautiful. Snow everywhere. We were the first ones there, so it was like we were setting the footprints out there. And then we took so many pictures. We took some videos up there. It looked like Red Dead Redemption 2. It felt like I was in a video game. It just felt so surreal, and I'd never experienced that type of terrain before. And immediately I was like, there's so much more that I have to see in nature, and I'm not going to see that if I don't get out of my comfort zone in LA, and if I don't get out of my comfort zone in the Bay. We did that one. We did the waterfall hike. Dude, I'm terrible. These are the notes I should have written down, but there's a waterfall hike that we did there too. And that one was awesome too. We were the first ones there too. And we didn't know where to go. Thankfully I had, the All Trails map and it was crazy because when everything is snow, you could go anywhere, and you're like guessing. I'm like, I don't know how people do this without a map or anything like that. And on the way back, actually, we met so many people that were thanking us because they were just like, it was snowing heavily, and they were just like, bro, thank you so much. We had no idea where to go. We were lost, and we just saw your footsteps, which is kind of a flex, It felt really good. People relied on us for their safety. They reached the peak, but it felt so cool to just be the guys figuring it out in that morning, trying to figure out where things were, and reaching it. It was beautiful. Just the way the snow was falling, the novelty of the whole experience for me. And we got some content there. That was the first time that I realized that we could just tape anything and figure it out later. You don't need to just post it immediately to your story. You don't need to immediately have a reason for capturing it. We captured a lot of shots. I started doing it on my phone, and I realized I should be doing this anyways. I should be doing this like on, it's so beautiful. Like, why keep it to myself? I take pictures all the time. So I was like, why not just get a few stills? So I started doing this thing where I keep my phone vertical and then I just hold the video. And then for 4 seconds, I just take 4-second videos of just holding my camera phone still. And it's awesome. I get like the river flowing for 4 seconds, and then I get like the snow falling for 4 seconds. I got the waterfall going for 4 seconds. And then later on, maybe a month and a half later, the inspiration struck. I'm like, I'm sitting on this footage. Maybe I can do something with it. And then I found a song. I think it was Highs and Lows by Kanye. And then I was just like, oh, what would be perfect is if like every time the beat hits is if I cut to a different part of this video of our trip. And that would be a cool way to show what we've been up to, And that, so I did. And it was great. I loved it. It was just such a different thing that I've shared. I've never really shared that. And it was like breaking free and letting go of like this stand-up identity, this podcast identity. Like, it doesn't have to be just one thing. It's just my identity is just what I am and what I'm into, what I'm feeling. And that was nice. And it all, I'm still sitting on a lot of footage from that trip. And again, I don't have to use it all. Not everything needs to be put out there. It's nice to decide what works, what doesn't work, and just to have a library to pull from. That's something I've realized as a part of a workflow for just editing, is to just have stuff to pull things from, and you'll figure it out later. I guess I was doing this before too with the dash cam footage when I went down to Palm Springs. I just ripped a bunch of footage from it because I'm like, wow, that drive was beautiful. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but then I just kind of saved it to my drive. I think I just wanted to post that. I think I just wanted to post the drive itself, and I was playing music, so it obviously picked up the music. I was like, even that by itself, just posting a video of it, no commentary, nothing, will be great. But then what I found myself doing was I think my second episode, it cut the footage out. Like, the video got cut because my battery died. And I was like, oh shit. Well, and then at first I was just going to upload it with a black screen and put a little text that says, sorry, my video got cut. But then I was like, what if I just put the dash cam footage? Like, fuck it, give some, like, let people look at something if they're looking at a video. And then that's when I realized, I'm like, that wasn't the purpose of why I ripped the footage. But it kind of looks cool. It's just a voiceover over this drive that I had. Has nothing to do with it. I mean, yeah, parts of the video I was talking about that trip, but it was just like, it didn't have to make sense. It just worked. Like, this video was on top of this voice, and so that's what I started doing with other things in my life. I just stop and I take pictures and I take videos all the time now. And I just figure it out later. If I use it, then I use it, but I stopped deleting it too. Cause I used to delete a bunch of stuff. I'm like, oh, what am I going to do with this? And then I would delete it. I just leave it in there now. What's the harm? I'm paying Apple takes $10 a month from me anyways for all this cloud storage. I might as well use it, So that's been nice. That trip, it was so beautiful. Again, I'm seeing all the snow fall down, and like the crunch of my boot onto the fresh snow. That feeling is so good. I just got chills thinking about it. And then just doing something with your bro, something new, seeing something new together, taking in the natural beauty of Earth. So rewarding. We were only there for 2 days. And then we went to SLO, San Luis Obispo. And I wasn't a fan. Man, this part, I wish we spent more time in the mountains. I wish we did more nature stuff. I don't know why I convinced them to go back to my college town. It was on my bucket list of things to do. I realized it's been so long since I've been in my college town. It's probably worth a visit, It just a trip down memory lane. they got some good wineries down there. So I figured, might as well take it a little bit easy. They got, I wanted to go see Montana de Oro again. I wanted to go to the beaches, and just, I guess I wanted to walk around my campus again, just kind of see it in this light that I hadn't seen it when I was living in it, because for some reason I was missing it. I was missing that. I was like kind of looking to my past for something, and I wasn't sure what it was, but clearly I had written down in my journal on my list of things to do this year was to go visit SLO. And I was like, well, we're going to be in Sequoia Mountains. We're 3 hours away anyways. Might as well just pivot over there before we drive the coast down to LA. And unfortunately, I got really bad food poisoning after on our second day in SLO. So we went to the winery, and we had a wine tasting. It was awesome. Really great experience. I enjoyed the wines very much. I'm not huge into blends, but that's what Paso's kind of known for. And I like to see what they were about. And we had a whole wine day planned. We were going to go to like 2 or 3 different wineries and get like some footage. There was some beautiful wineries there with some views that I wanted to get some content for. And I ended up getting super sick. I don't know what happened. I felt phenomenal. Even the drive up to the winery that morning, I felt great. It must have been something that I ate the night before. After the 3rd glass of wine, I was sitting there and I knew that something was wrong. I could feel, when you got to throw up. So you start like feeling that in the back of your throat here, like a little bit of saliva, and you're just like, oh, dude, if I talk, it's all gonna come out. So I started getting quiet, and then my stomach just, it felt like this terrible like pit, and I knew it was done. So I tried to fight it, but we had to go back, and then I just yacked everything, and I felt crazy, and I got the huge fever, like 2.5-day fever. Like our entire SLO part of the trip was just fucked, and I felt so bad. Because we were just sitting in this random town, and this guy he doesn't have any attachment to it. It's kind of like a trip down memory lane for me, and even I'm not even experiencing it. And we were both we were working a little bit because I was sick anyways. I didn't want to take like full sick time off or whatever. So I started clocking in, and I had a couple of deadlines, and I was like getting fevers. I ended up just sweating out the fevers for like 2 or 3 days. And it was just such a negative experience for revisiting this place that I wanted to, I don't know what I wanted from it. It was very nice. I got to meet my professor. She gave me an opportunity in college to, I was working at Jamba Juice before, and I love it. It was nice. I finally had a sense of earning money, but then, she brought me on and she said, you can be my TA, pays a little bit better. And then she's also just such a cool person. She's very weird, but I like weird people, so it was nice. And, I got to catch up with her after 7 years. And I couldn't believe it's been so long. And I was very sick. It was like, I had to get up at like 5 a.m. just to meet her for tea in the morning. But I did it, and it was so nice and refreshing to catch up with someone from the past like that, especially when they've helped you out so much in life and acted as sort of a mentor, So it was nice to do that. But I think that would probably be the highlight of the trip for me, because I got to say, when I did feel better again, and I started showing him around, nothing was really hitting me the same. The places downtown, the restaurants, the bars, the hikes, even Montana de Oro. I mean, Montana de Oro is beautiful, right, in its own regard. But when you come from Sequoia Mountains and you're seeing the snow for the first time, you're hiking the snow for the first time, and you come down and then you go do something like Montana de Oro, which you've done countless number of times already, it's a little bit hard to live up to the expectation. It was still beautiful, and we saw a fantastic sunset, which is what the sunset on the water with the orange ball going down. That's never going to get old. But it did feel largely like I was chasing something that I had to learn to let go of. I think I wanted to go back to slow to get something from there that I felt like I didn't have when I was living and experiencing it. And what it made me realize was that I shouldn't be looking, if that's the way you feel, right? Like I felt like when I was in slow, I didn't appreciate it enough. I felt like I didn't do enough there. I didn't meet enough people there. I didn't go out and do this. I didn't go out into the beaches enough. I didn't go out to the hikes there enough. And now that I'm in a completely different place, I felt like the need to go back there and to do all those things again. But what I realized is the past is the past. And if that's the way I felt about the past, the best thing to do is to take those feelings into the present. I'm in LA now, and I'm in a completely different place. But what I don't want to happen is 5 years from now, feel the way that I did about slow. I want to make sure that I do as much as I can in LA. I want to make sure that I do meet people. I want to make sure that I do go on these hikes, that I do go out and, go on these little road trips and explore. I don't want to, if I ever leave, I don't want to feel like I didn't do those things. So I felt really good because when I was in slow, I was like, dude, I'm doing all the things that I thought would bring me fulfillment, but they're not. And I was confused at first. I was like, I thought this was the answer. I thought going back to the past and experiencing it with a new lens was the answer. But it showed me something very important, which was that you can't revisit it, but what you can do is not repeat those mistakes in your current situation. And that was my biggest takeaway. So although revisiting a trip down memory lane, although that wasn't all that it was meant to be, and admittedly, I felt a little bit guilty dragging my friend along. He's coming all the way from New York. And I showed him my college town. Like, we could have gone to so many different places. He's a real one for sticking with me on that journey. But I realized that all I can do is focus on where I'm at right now and trying to make that better. So I love the lesson that I got from that road trip. The rest of it, overall, it was so nice to have somebody from New York come visit me here, and kind of see the life that I've had since that studio in Gramercy Park. Just see what my single life is all about now. I wish we would have taped the pod though. That would have been nice, but we were already doing so much. But yeah, that was April. That was so Kanye, and then my friend visited. And then I think, dude, like after that, oh yeah. The second that he left, I had like maybe a week to study for my CPD exam. This is, last year I wanted to get my professional engineering license, but then this year I was like, let's take it a step further. I think it's a good goal to have something like professionally to achieve every year. So this year I was like, to me, dude, these letters at the end of your name, if you got like those little letters like, ooh, I'm certified in this, or I'm actually a professional this guy. Cool, man. I just think like there's too many idiots out there with that, and I also think there's too many brilliant people without those things. So if you have them, that's great. You know what? If you cast a net out, and if I was to look for people with credentials, I would probably have a bias towards people who have those letters at the end of their names too. But I realized it doesn't matter what I think; it matters what other people think too. Their perception of you is going to be heavily influenced by certain things like this, and whether or not I think it's frivolous, whether or not I think it's dumb, it still holds true. So I got this certification in plumbing design. So I had 5 days to study for it. I kind of crammed for it. Funny enough, was also taking that one. So we both passed that one. So that was like a brief little intermission in like, okay, we had like 2-3 weeks of fun. Now let's lock in real quick. And then a week after that exam, my buddy was doing his bachelor in St. George, Utah. So, and when he told me about this, I was just like, dude, this is like 30 minutes away from Zion National Park. I have to go. And it wasn't even like I've seen all the footage from Zion. It was like word of mouth. Every time someone talks about national parks, Zion always comes up. So I ended up extending that trip and doing a little solo adventure into Zion. Dude, I thought, remember when I said Sequoia Mountains, like that hike immediately overshadowed Montana de Oro, and it kind of gave me a new perspective on the views that I had in the Bay and LA. So I thought, I was thinking like, okay, 3 weeks ago I was in Sequoia Mountains. That was definitely the best views I've ever had in my life. Now I'm in Zion, and I was immediately just surpassed again. I was like, this is even better. I didn't think it was possible, and in such a short time frame too. I was like, this is beautiful. I mean, I never thought the rocks could look so red, and then be contrasted with like flowing water, and just I did 2 hikes there. I did Angel's Landing, and I did the Narrows, and this time I did even deeper of a dive into collecting footage and taking content, which was fun. It was super fun. I thought that it would be cumbersome. I thought it would be annoying to bring my tripod on a hike and then to set up the view, and then kind of wait for people to go, and then walk back and then pretend like it's like me walking for the first time. But I gotta admit, it was fun. And I know that's not everybody's into that. I know if I took someone else on the hike and they didn't get it, they would probably be really pissed off. I would never get that footage. So I'm really glad that I did that alone. And I'll tell you this right now, the trick to doing all that kind of stuff, dude, you gotta be up at the crack of dawn. You cannot wait till the crowd comes. That it's not going to look good, and you're not going to feel good, dude. It felt so good because it's so hard for me in everyday life to get up on time for work, because look, I love my job and I'm good at it, but it's not something that gets me out of bed. Like, let's do this. That's not me. But on the hikes, it was so easy for me to get up. I would wake up before my alarm. I would set the alarm for like 4 a.m. And then I would just naturally, my body knew like it's time. And I would get up a few minutes before, like 3:50, and then I would just, turn off my alarm, start getting ready, pack my bags, and then I would head out. And that changed everything. Just no sounds, no people entering this thing. You avoid the fees too. You should pay. You should donate to your national parks, even if the rangers aren't there to collect your fee. But if you go early enough, no one says anything, So I beat the crowds, and the first one was Angel's Landing, and I mean, I had doubts going into it. I didn't even know that I wanted to do it because I heard so many things. People are saying it's so dangerous. Oh, like people have died on this hike. And Honestly, originally I was going to do observation point, um, but I think last minute when I arrived there, the drive in, settling into my hotel, um, kind of getting a beer, I was just like, dude, I'm being a pussy. Like, if I'm here, like, I gotta do the thing. You know what I mean? Like, and so I just signed up for the lottery the night, because that's how you gotta sign up for the lottery the night before to find out if you can get a permit to do it. Um, and I was lucky. I think it was a Tuesday or something. So I didn't. I was pretty sure I was gonna get it. So you get like 6 little lottery tickets, and then I picked the sunrise one. So that was when I was allowed to hike up there. So I got it, and then I was like, "Oh, cool. Now I can do it." So I decided to just strap up. I didn't do any research, by the way. I just knew that at some point it's gonna look a little bit sus, and there are chains or something that I have to hang on to. And I was like, people do this all the time. Like, sure, how hard could it be for me? Why put this limit on myself of what I can and can't do? So instead of doing observation point, I did Angel's Landing that first day. So rewarding. The views were unbelievable, and the footage I got was awesome too, because people weren't crowding there, and then it really looked like I had the whole park to myself for a lot of these shots. The chains were such an iconic part of the hike too. I was so scared. I was definitely scared when I realized what it was that people were talking about. And I'm glad I didn't really look into the footage before, because once I got up there, I was like, oh, I got to do this now. Like, because if I had looked into that before, and people put like the fisheye lens on it too to make it look even worse. Dude, it does look that scary. There are some parts where if I tipped over one way, I would fall off a cliff and die. And they were narrow. They were super like I think maybe this wide. And that's like the ridge I had to walk along for like maybe 12 feet before it like widened out again. And there were moments where I was holding on to the chain, and then I looked over, and then I froze and I got stuck. And then I like peeked behind me, but people were so nice. Dude, that's the thing about like morning people hikers. They're so about the activity. They get it. They're like, there's almost like a common respect where they're just like, yeah, you got up early because you wanted to beat the crowds. You're not a normie. You're really about this activity. And they're so nice, dude. They stop, they talk to you. They're just like, it's a great morning. Beautiful weather. Views are worth it. You can't wait. You got to get up there, When you go in the afternoon, people are assholes, bro. They're just tourists. They're just doing it for their, they're just doing it to say they did it. They're not really about it. They don't take their time. So I love going in the morning, because when I was stuck there on the ridge and I was looking down and I was terrified, there was people behind me. There was people in front of me. They were just like, take your time, take it. Don't worry about it. And they're like, I'm not in a rush. If you want to let me go, that's fine. And a couple of times I did, I backtracked and I let the person in front of me go, and they're just like, just follow me. It'll be fine. So I followed them, and it was cool. But dude, definitely, yeah, I could see how people die on it. Actually, I slipped on the way down, and I was hanging on the chain by one arm, and my one of my legs like was dangling off of the cliff, and I was holding onto the chains all the time. They'd say 3 points of contact at all times, right? That means one hand on the chain, or 2 hands on the chain and 1 foot on the ground, right? And then you take a step. So I slipped while I was holding onto the chain, and then on the way down, and then as I fell, my one hand let go of the chain, but then and then one of my feet started dangling, and then I was holding on with my left arm. And then I remember the person in front of me turned around, and she was just like shocked. Her eyes were like so wide, and no one could say anything. No one knew what to do. Everyone froze and was like looking at me. And then I just kind of slowly, I was just like, all right, I'm not going to die. And then I just pulled myself up so slowly. And then I put my feet back on, and then I got back up. And the lady didn't even say anything. And then all I could say to her was just like, that was close. And then she's like, yeah. All of us went way slower down. like people were like reminded just by watching me, like, oh fuck, we can actually die, um, but that was, it was kind of funny. I mean, like it was, yeah, like I almost, if I hadn't like held on, like there's a chance that I probably would have, it wasn't like a fatal cliff, but I definitely would have gotten very badly hurt. Like I would have needed the fucking chopper or whatever. Uh, but that was it just made me laugh because I'm like, I don't know, there was like some humor in her reaction, in the way that everyone acted around me. And it was funny because I was like, no, everyone was so like frozen, because I'm sure everyone was like, that was a beautiful hike, like, and they're coming down from the peak, and then they're just reminded by my dumbass that this is a life or death thing, you can die. No one, it was just funny to me that no one like knew what to do. They didn't know, like, should I help this guy, like should I reach out my arm? They're like, what if I die too? Like that, it makes me laugh thinking about it for some reason. Would I do that? Would I like to think that I'm the person that would be like, grab my arm. But would I? I don't know. I feel like I'd be kind of like, yo, I'm not trying to go down with you, bro. You better pull yourself back up. So it was a nice reminder, and of just the thrill of it was awesome. Not to mention the views and the footage I got. And that was the first day. The second day I did the Narrows. That one was beautiful in its own, like I couldn't tell you like which one was better, because they both had so much to offer. And I did the Narrows from south up. So I went about 6 miles in before I turned around. The water was getting like way up to like I had the full bib on that I rented for like $80. And the water was getting to a point where you can't go further because the water was getting up to like my neck. And at this point I had already fallen in the river. And I just dried up. So I'm like, I'm not trying to discover whether or not I can go 6.5 miles. I'm just going to call it at the 6 mile mark. And so I turned around, but just amazing views. The fact that it was a river walk. I mean, you're walking in this place where water is flowing constantly. So 6 miles of that was so hard to do because the current is strong. And the higher the water is, the more resistance you're feeling, right? So at some points it was like up to my hips, and like every step forward was like 5 to 6 times the effort of like a normal hike. Like the Angels Landing was very tough because of the switchbacks and like the incline, and like I had a pack on me, and like it was tiring in that way. But this one was like, it was shorter, but every step was tougher. And you want to make sure you're not falling. Also, I had to remind myself, and it's rocks. It's not like on the bottom of the waterbed, it's just large rocks. It's not like there's smooth ground that you have to. So every step you take, you have to make sure, is the rock loose or is it tight? And you have to find your footing. And then so many times, I'm surprised that I only fell once. I can't believe it, because there were so many times where my footing didn't land, and I had the stick too to help, which I was so thankful that I picked up. I thought I was being kind of like, who needs a stick, but no, you need that third point to like hold yourself down while you find the next place to put your foot down. So that took me, that hike itself took me so long. It took me all day. I think I went in the morning. And I want to say like 5 a.m. And I did not get back to my hotel until like 4 p.m. And it was just a different level of exhaustion, but it was so exhilarating because it was like Angel's Landing. It's just like the last 3/4 of a mile, I think, with the chains. So that's like the only part where you really need to lock in. But the Narrows, it was like every step of the process. from once you get into the river area, like you need to watch your step. You need to make sure the water's not getting too high. You need to like figure out where people are going. There were areas where it just got too deep, and people were congregating because they didn't know where to go. And they would like, one person would be like, oh, this is too deep, we can't go here. And they would like double back, and then they'd try to find a different way forward. So it was nice. Again, it was that community, right? So when you go early morning, you really get that community of like hiking enthusiasts that are really into the activity, that you're not going to find if you go at like 1 o'clock, 2 p.m. You're just not going to find that same level of social climate. You're just going to find people who aren't prepared for it, people who don't have the right gear. It changes things. I recommend, if you're really into this sort of stuff, just go in the morning, because that's when people are really doing it. The people who are really there, the people who are going to add to your experience, that's when those guys are going. And that's who was helping me out. You know, we would bump into each other at like, it was like, we were like halfway up the river at like 8 a.m. And people were like trying to figure it out. And then we just walked, and then this guy's like, all right, dude, you're taller than any of us, so you go forward. So I went forward, and then I found a way, and then everyone behind me was just like, all right, follow this guy. And then so we found a way through like the deep part of the river before it rose back up, and then we finally had even footing again. Moments like that, man, like I forgot that I was by myself. I forgot that it was a solo trip. I just felt like it felt like a community where I didn't know these people. I'm never going to see them again. I don't know their names, but we were just talking to each other. And then, I went ahead, they went a different direction. And then maybe like an hour or so later, we saw each other again. I'm like, oh, you made it. And it was nice. We caught up for a bit and then just went home. That's sort of what I mean about like, you got to do these things to remind yourself of what you're into, and you're naturally going to meet people anyways, by virtue of whether it's there on the hike itself or whether it's later, you talk to people and you're like, oh, you loved Zion. Oh, what did you like, you did these 2 hikes. Oh, like what did you think? Did you think you needed the bibs, or do you think you could have just done it with the boot? Those little things. Those are the things. You share content, you post a video and someone else sees it and they're like, dude, I've always wanted to go there. Those are like, all these things are going to lead to you finding your people eventually, and you wouldn't be able to do that if you didn't engage in activities that you're genuinely interested in. And that was my favorite part of that trip, was just, I got so much footage of this beautiful area. I did something new, and I drove there. It's so close. It's Vegas is 3.5 hours for me, I think, and then Zion is another 3 hours itself. So like maybe with traffic, it was like 7 hours at most, 8. But easy, like. Here to the Bay Area is already like 5.5 hours on a good day. It's like 7 hours on a bad day with traffic, right? So I was like, I can't believe this place is so close. I could literally go back, and I wanted to go back. When I came back and I was like looking at the footage, I was like, man, there's so many places there itself that I wish I could go back and do again. So I would literally go back again. This next weekend, if someone was just like, and if I had the time and, the budget for that hotel again, because I do think, I think that's what also helped, was not being able to, being able to walk from my hotel directly into the park. Because there's like 10 stops in Springdale that I originally, I was like, I should probably get something close to there, because I don't want to have to deal with the parking and then like bringing my car. Would have to like get a permit, it was just like, let me just walk into the park. Or they had a shuttle system, but the shuttle system, I was going to use the shuttle system, but they didn't start early enough for me. They start those things at like 8 a.m. or 7 at the earliest, I think. So I didn't want to wait for that. So I was just like, because that's when you want to go as early as you can to beat the crowds. So, but it was nice to just be able to walk. I was like, fuck it, the hike starts here. It's, it's a mile to get into the park. Call it part of the hike. So I would do that again because there's so much to see. I didn't get to do the bikes. So many people are talking about doing the electronic bikes, and you just ride around through the park. I didn't. I mean, observation point. Like I skipped that to do Angel's Landing, which no regrets, but I still want to do observation point. I want to do the Emerald Pools. Yeah, I mean, there's so much. That's the great part about these parks is like you can't do it at once. It leaves you with something to come back to. And this time, I think I would go with someone else. I did everything that I wanted to do solo there. I really felt it out. It was amazing. Maybe my next girlfriend or something, I'll take her back there. That seems nice. And Utah's also just an interesting area too. I had no idea the presence, the Mormon presence that's in Utah. Bit of a culture shock for me. In just like I didn't know it was like this. I just really enjoyed it. And that was like 2 days, 3 days maybe, before my friend's bachelor party. It was my first time being it's my first time. He hasn't had the wedding yet, but it's my first time being a groomsman, and I think it's my second batch that I've been to. And it's always such a privilege, dude. It's so great to know that there's someone out there that thinks of you as like their really good friend, that they can invite you to something so intimate, celebratory of their own milestone in life. And it was so sweet catching up with him and the boys, in St. George, and got into golf. So I played my first 18 holes and my second, because this guy's really into golf. And so they booked a tee time at Sand Hollows, and that's apparently like one of the most iconic courses. So I was like, all right, I don't know if I'm going to do it justice, but I got to check it out. If it's so iconic and I'm right there and I got the people who are into the sport, like I gotta check it out, because golf is interesting. I love golf, but it's kind of an expensive thing for me right now. I'm into way too many activities to be spending extra on golf, but I was like, you know what, this time, let me just check it out. So I got a fit. I got the shoes, and I borrowed my friend's clubs. It's just funny. I looked way better than I actually played on the field. But I actually hit. I actually played pretty decently. I hit a 285-yard drive. That was probably one of the best drives I've ever hit in my life. And we took one. I almost got one under par. I don't know my golf terms, I'm sorry, but I almost got one under par because I hit off of the championship tee on one of the holes, and it was literally like less than 10 feet away from the hole. It was probably this. I mean, besides the 280-yard drive, this was probably my favorite one that I've ever hit, and it was so funny. I had so much pressure. Everyone crowded around. They were all hyped. They were just like, that was the craziest shot we ever seen. And they're like, dude, just sink it. It's right there. And then they took the footage and I missed it. It was like, and I felt so bad. I think I missed the shot after that too. So I think I ended up one over par. It's funny. It was a beautiful drive. So close. And then I just fucked it up on like the putts. But wonderful sport. And, when people are into it, that's the best way to enjoy it, because it's such a big thing to get into. You got to have the right people who know what they're doing to kind of show you the ropes a little bit. But yeah, the next day I played another 18 holes, and I was so sore, dude. This was the worst golf I've ever played. I don't think a single drive landed. I don't think a single shot landed. I was so sore from the hikes, from Angel's Landing, then the Narrows. Then I played 18 holes By the second 18 holes, I was just cooked. Um, so that was a very bad day of golf. But, end of the day, had a couple brewskis, chilled on the day on the greens, you know, got to talk with some people that it's going to be a while before you get to do those kinds of things again. So might have played ass on the second day, but it was nice, man. I mean, that whole trip was fantastic. It's so rare to be able to get so many of your friends together to do shit in life, especially as you age, especially as people are starting families. So it was nice to be a part of to be reminded that you are a part of a community, in someone's community, and that was it was cool because we obviously drank a bunch at night, played Rage Cage, beer pong, and then it was nice. He invited the girls. They were also doing their bachelorette nearby, so we hosted on the last night. Everybody came through, and it was a packed house. Everyone was partying. Really, really fun. I mean, met a bunch of people too. Just a reminder that like there's so much to be happy for in life, really. There's so much that life has to offer. And it was funny. I think Zion was 2 days, and then this bachelor party was Thursday to Sunday. So even just the bachelor side of things, it was St. George, Utah, right? Not really a place that I would ever consider like a destination for travel. But I was thinking about how my trip in Mexico was versus this, and I realized I had so much more fun in Utah with friends than I did alone in Mexico, which was kind of a nice realization because, again, kind of like it's not about the destination. It's not about where you're at. If you're alone, there's almost a limit on the experiences, the quality of the experience you get. I think I was so comfortable being alone for so long that going to St. George and being with so many people, so many quality people, it made me realize I'd rather just be with my people anywhere than to be in overseas alone, even if it's like my go-to destination place or whatever. And Mexico was 12 days and I got so much out of it. There's also the inverse is true, right? You're going to have experiences solo that you're not going to be able to have when you're with people. But that's why this trip felt so fulfilling, is because I felt like I did the Zion part solo, and then I closed out the weekend with a community. And it was so wholesome. Everything was well balanced. I got the nature, I got the partying, I got the community, I got the content. I think I realized that's how I want to travel moving forward. That's how I want to discover new things. Is like I'm less attracted to like, what is it, Disney World in Florida. I mean, that's cool. Eventually I probably will go, probably when I have kids, but for now, what I've really been enjoying is there needs to be an aspect of nature. There needs to be friends. And there needs to be some combination of those two, the nature, the friends, and then also just relax. Like it needs to be a perfect combination of things that I can like capture for myself. I don't know if that makes sense. basically the elements that I had in Zion and then St. George. I want to replicate that because I felt so good traveling in that way. I really felt like I nailed everything. I nailed the hotel. I nailed the way that I did the national park. I nailed the budget, dude. You know how hard it is for someone like me to not overspend. I nailed the budget. I nailed just everything. Just being with friends. I want to do all that again. So I realized that's the way I travel. That's the way I enjoy traveling and finding new places. Is there needs to be some element of nature, and there needs to be some element of solo, and some element of friends that are involved, and then just capturing all that in some way, taking some videos, taking some cool pictures, footage, and then sharing it. It was so great to get all that footage and then to share it with in some way where I made like a cool edit, and then what I did with the Zion stuff I didn't get as much in. So in Angel's Landing, I set up a bunch of shots, and then I got a bunch of POV videos. But in the Narrows, I couldn't bring that with me because I was worried that my backpack would get like destroyed in the water if I fell in, and I did fall in. So the bib that I rented, it basically had like a little slot in the front, and it was perfect. I just put my phone there vertically, and then I let it record. And so I got like a huge, 15, 30-minute videos of me walking through this river, which I'm still sitting on. But I think it's going to be awesome to just put like voiceover over it. Just maybe even whatever I just said about the Zion stuff right now, maybe I just like throw on the clip, and then I lower the volume so that the water's in the background. You can still hear the river flowing, but then it's like this voice over that, and yeah, that's I like that. I like that idea. And then what I did for Angel's Landing is I stitched together those videos of me like hiking, and then I threw on old podcast footage of me talking about hikes. But when I was talking about the hikes in that old podcast, it was me talking about the hike in Los Angeles at Angeles National Forest. But I took that same audio and I put it over this footage of me at Angel's Landing, and it became something new, right? So I discovered that you can have individual experiences, but when you combine them together, you pull from different areas, and you can reuse the same footage, you can reuse the same audio, and you can blend it together, and it can become something completely different. That's what and then now I'm like looking at the footage now, and I'm like, what if I took Zion and I took Sequoia and then I took footage from Slow, and then I put it over a new musical track, right? And then I found a creative way to kind of put those, like, I've been really into just like cutting the video at every beat change. That's just a really easy way. Like, it's a very satisfying thing, I think, for a viewer to be like, yeah, it cut right when the music did, right? That's, for some reason, that really captivates at least my attention, and I think a lot of other people's attention. So I'm like getting ideas now, but this is what I mean about creating like a library of footage, getting a library of audios. Sometimes I'll be doom scrolling, and there'll be like a hilarious sound effect, and then I'll be like, dude, I need that sound effect, that's so funny. And then I'll click into it, and I'll like look it up, and then I'll find a way to like save it down. And then I haven't even used them yet, but I've saved down, like I have a little folder on my laptop called SFX, and then it's just funny when, like, I mean, I don't know when I'm ever going to use it, but I love just seeing what other people are doing, and then like kind of be taking from it, and then just seeing like, oh, how can I use this in my stuff that I eventually want to do? And I don't have to have the answer immediately, but I think I will later. And once I do, I'll be like, oh, I saved that thing down from like 4 months ago. Like, now I can use it. So it's been great to build a catalog of things and not have the expectation to use things as they come. I used to be big on like when I use social media, I used to be like, okay, if I post it, you know that was posted in the moment. You know that I was there. But now I'm like, why did I have that rigid mentality? Why did I have to post a story right when I was there, without editing it, without reframing it, without zooming in, without doing anything? You can really reshape anything into something else. And I'm discovering that now, and it's really powerful. So now I post stuff from months ago. Sometimes I post stuff from yesterday. Sometimes I post in the moment, but I've just broadened the horizons for the way that I'm capturing and sharing the stuff that I'm doing. And it's been great, man. Like I've stopped thinking, I really stopped thinking about the views. And it's rewarding. I mean, it's kind of odd, like it's great to just be in this zone. I think I'm going to miss this because eventually my guess is that letting go of the feeling of getting views will ironically get you views. And I think that doing so now, enjoying this stuff now while you don't have too many eyes on you, I think I'm going to miss that when I eventually get to a point where a lot of people are looking at what I'm doing. So again, just trying to appreciate where I am right now and the way that I've been discovering things. These revelations that I've had lately, I mean, they're just going to grow. They're just going to be even more so. Whatever I'm having now, like I'm sure in even 3 months from now, I'm going to have so much more to share and to show for it. Lessons learned that I'm not going to have known if I hadn't tried new things. Even today, I'm looking around. You know what I realized last time? I realized that when I put my lamps on here, what I have for studio lighting is that I just have my lamps, my LED lamps, and I lean them against my chairs, and then I turn them on here, right? Before, I was keeping it on their usual setting, which is the warm light, and it was like a yellow light, right? Now, and then I was like looking into and then after doing the special, I think I started color grading my podcast because I was just like, oh, why not? Like I color graded the special. Why don't I just do something small, just something, whatever. Like it doesn't need to be crazy. And it's very easy because it's all one shot. It's not like I'm cutting to different areas. So what one color grade setting will set the whole podcast. So 2 things I changed this time. One thing is that I changed it from the yellow warm light to a white light. And I kept the yellow light behind me. I don't know if that's that's new. I don't know what that's going to do. But I know you need some light in the back. And then I wanted the light on me to be a little bit whiter, because when I was color grading, I noticed that it was very hard. The yellow light brought out this weird tone on my brown skin. And it kind of made the walls behind me look a little not how they look. So now when I'm taping it, I was just like, okay, well, what if I didn't know whether it was going to work, but I just did white light this time, and I don't know, I'll figure it out, right? But that's the point, is like I needed to tape the 4th pod in order to get to somewhere like this where I'm understanding how light works, right? Maybe other people get it, but you got to start somewhere, right? You got to understand that anybody who knows anything has started from a place of not. So I'm trying something different now. And I think I'm just going to keep doing that. And part of it is just knowing that whatever you do, keep trying, you have to just share it as well, because other people's feedback is very important. It's not as important as I thought it was, but it's still it's going to guide you in the same way. And then, another thing I did was I closed the blinds because I noticed that the color grading got a little bit weird, because I always do this in the afternoon. And then when I do this for hours, the sun sets and then the lighting in my room changes. So, and I don't know how to do that over the course of like 2 to 3 hours of this pod. I don't want to keep changing the color grade and like, because it's going to be harsh. So I closed it off and I had a little bit more control of the lighting. But I say all that just to be like, this is just something I'm figuring out and I don't know what's going to work, but I know that something didn't work last time, or it didn't work as well as I wanted to last time. So maybe I try something new. And if it's worse, then whatever, man. Like, I'm not just going to delete this entire thing, right? I'm just going to post it and know that number 5 is going to be better. And maybe I'll go back to what I did before, but we'll see. Yeah. So that was Zion and my friend's batch. So remember, this is all still like April, early May. And then on my way back from the Bachelor, my buddy needed a ride. This guy got a fucking 9 a.m. flight or some bullshit like that on a Sunday. And I'm like, I'm the only guy who, is going to realistically drive him back. So I was hungover and I packed in a hurry. And he was a trooper, man. He drove all the way, filled up my tank, solid dude. But I was so fucked up, so sleep deprived and hungover. I ended up getting a hotel in Vegas because I was like, I don't think I'm gonna make the rest of the drive back to LA. And that was fun. My friend, he had a flight later in the evening, and he's just like, "Yo, you're in Vegas right now?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right." So we pulled up, and then we went and we played some games. Craps is my thing, bro. Craps is the best game ever invented for casinos. Just the amount of things you can bet on, just the action of throwing dice, the power you feel when you throw those dice and it lands, like, and the whole table's cheering you on. That's peak. That's the best feeling in the world, bro. And I run hot. The last few times that I've been shooting dice. So, and it's funny because you can go to a lot of casinos, but I think they for some reason Craps is like very gate kept in Vegas, and I think Atlantic City. Traditional Craps is not offered everywhere. So I knew when I was in Vegas, I'm like, all right, well, you know what? Here's another 300. We gotta run it back, because the last time I got to do it was in 24 from my other friend's bachelor party. He had it in Vegas. And that's when I got introduced to Craps. This was just as fun, man. This was such a funny part because it was such an impromptu thing. I would have never stopped in Vegas if my friend hadn't needed a ride home to the airport in Vegas. And so it became, instead of like a 2-part trip where it was like Zion and then St. George for the batch, it became like a 3-parter where it was like, okay, Zion, the batch, and then Vegas for a night and a half, and then drive home the next day. Very fun. I did come up, so that's if you leave Vegas and you didn't lose money, that's already a win. But if you come up on money and you walk away, what can you say? So made back a little bit of the money that I spent on the hotels. So that felt good. Obviously gas is super expensive, so we evened out, but it was fun. Probably my favorite vacation that I've taken, I would say. And that was it. I mean, that was only that was just early May, and then after that, I mean, it just kept going, dude. After that, I came back, and Memorial Day, I realized what I realized was like, so I'm doing my 30th in a couple. Oh fuck! It's actually next week. It's Saturday right now. Oh shit. Okay. So I'm going to Montreal on Thursday, like a few days from now, and I convinced 7 of my friends to come with me, which is, again, you don't know how difficult that is when you start hitting 30 to get 7 of your friends to even get dinner with you, let alone out of the country in a new place. You have no idea how excited I am for this. I mean, it means so much to me that like I don't know. Maybe I'm too hard on myself, but I'm like, oh man, I can't believe these people are down. Like for me, thanks. Uh, in a way, this is like kind of like the bachelor party that I never had before I got divorced. So this is nice. It's gonna be great. They have a casino there. Unfortunately, no traditional craps, but casino there. We're gonna do the International Jazz Festival. Couple of nice dinners, and our Airbnb is sick. It's got like a poker table. It's got a bunch of views, and it's a new city with some friends. For 3 nights, 4 days. Gonna check out some of the clubs that they have there. Walk around, have some brewskis at the park. Dude, I'm so hyped. I just remembered right now that I'm doing that in a few days, and it just got me so amped up. And it's just an ongoing thing. I totally skipped over this Memorial Day thing. I got a new tattoo, like a couple of weeks after I came back. So I realized, oh yeah, what I was saying is like, well, I'm basically going to Montreal in July. So I realized normally what I do, since I've been coming down to LA, I usually go up to the Bay Area in July for my birthday, and then I go up for either Thanksgiving or Christmas. But this time I realized I'm not going to be able to, well, I'm just not going to want to go up in July because I'm going to be so tired from coming back from Montreal. I'm not going to want to do the drive and then go back up and then come back down. So I decided to go back up for Memorial Day weekend. And this time, another thing that I wanted to do this year was to get a tattoo. So I got a tattoo from my friend Javi. I'll put his thing down here. His Instagram handle is Suarez Inc. He works in San Jose. If you're ever looking for a tattoo, fantastic work. Really, really highly recommend it. He's super into what he does, and he'll take the time to really get your vision right. And I know this because I'm a very particular person, and we've collaborated a lot on the art that I wanted for my comedy in the past. And he's my roommate from college and everything. Like, so we go back and we work together on this design. I got it here. Let me, no, I don't want to show it here. I'll just put a picture of it on the screen here. But it's a cat. It's my cat. And I turned him into a spirit cat. His tail turns into these clouds, and the clouds turn into these eyes that are kind of looking over him. And his eyes have these star-shaped pupils, which is kind of to me, when I see star-shaped pupils like that, like when I draw and I sketch, every time I draw an eye, I love putting like a little star, like a little pointed star on my things, on the eyes that I draw. Couldn't tell you why. There's no real reason. I just think it looks cool, and it gives a certain vibe that it's like ethereal, like it's like beyond this earth. And in a way, it's like that's my cat, and he's gonna be alive even when he's not. I don't want to think about that. He's getting old. He's like 9 now. I don't know. 2017. Yeah, he's like 9. He's 9 now, but now he's just there forever, and he looks great. And there's something to be said about like, I love the dreamy state of how there's no real reason, like I got the tattoo and some people were like, oh, is this like symbolism for when he was like gone for 5.5 months? And I was like, no, you know what? They're just 3 elements that I thought worked well together, and that I've been enjoying drawing. Whenever I draw, I end up drawing clouds. I end up drawing eyes. And I've been trying, I'm not great at it, but I've been trying to incorporate a cat somewhere in there. So I'm like, these 3 elements, if I can make them work, I mean, I'd be more than happy to get a tattoo of it. I haven't had a tattoo since I was 19. I got it in India, and I got a fever. So my experience with tattoos hasn't been like completely positive. Since then, I was very scared to get a fever again. But this time it was nice, and the vision came out so exactly how I wanted it to be, you know. Um, and it took a while. When I went up to the Bay, it was like a whole day event. You know, I pulled up at around like 11, and then it took us like a few hours to finalize the vision, to get the details right, to get the shading proper, to get the line work right. And then I was very adamant, you know, like the tail needs to become the cloud, and the clouds need to become the eyes, and it needs to be seamless, and there needs to be, you know, dreamlike in that way where things just become something and you don't really know why, but they just do and you accept it. That was kind of the vibe I wanted for this tattoo, and he just absolutely nailed it, you know. And he didn't take any shortcuts. We were in that studio until like 3:30 in the morning, bro. We took a break. We went out, took him out to a nice dinner, and you know, we did our thing. Came back, finished up the tattoo, and immediately I was like, I got to get more. I never thought that I would want so many tattoos or anything like that. I just thought it would be a one and done thing. Honestly, even this one, I didn't. It was more like I just wanted to support him because I was like, oh, you know, he does tattoos now, and like this is like a longtime collaborator and like a longtime friend. And I want to support his business and support his artwork. So I would love to get it. If I were to ever get a tattoo, I've never even thought about getting a tattoo. But then I was like, oh, I mean, sure, I'll get one if it means supporting him. And then I did it. And then immediately I'm like, I need many more. And it feels so good, dude. Like I love working out now a lot more because it just looks cool. Like I get to lift and then I look in the mirror and it's just like, I'm moving my arm around. It's like I got one on each shoulder now. And now I'm thinking like it'd be kind of cool to have like a chest piece or something like that. But I don't want to rush it. But I've just been okay with letting go a little bit more. Because it used to be like, oh, the tattoo needs to be perfect. It needs to be this. It needs to have this deep symbolic meaning. None of that, man. It just looks cool. And I got a story that goes with it, you know. So that's what I did when I went back up for Memorial Day, and then we fired up some steaks, some glizzies, had a nice little poker sesh, and caught up with the boys. It's always nice to go back up, man. I get to see my friends up there because I always forget, you know, and they're so close, but they're still yet so far because my everyday life in LA is so different. But I always know that if I ever feel lonely, I can always just go up for a weekend or even just a week because I can, you know, work remotely from my parents' house. So it doesn't need to be in July. It doesn't need to be in Christmas time. It could just be whenever. And I know that there's a network of people out there that I'm really close with that would be happy to, you know, see me. Oh, I went to DC. That's what it was. That's why I felt like, yeah, every week I was doing some crazy shit. Yeah. So my work sent me out to DC right the week after I got back from Vegas. I came back and then my work was just like, hey, we need you to do a site visit out in DC. And I'm just like, all right. I mean, DC is pretty cool. I also haven't been to the East Coast since New York. So I was like, this is, you know, I've always wanted to go to DC when I was in New York, and a lot of people in the stand-up crowd, they would tell me to check out DC because it's got a great comedy culture. Chappelle's from DC, right? His first special was taped there too. It's got a huge culture to it that I've never really experienced, so I wanted to check it out. They let me rent a car, so this is pretty cool. I got to, you know, I finished my stuff early in the day. By the time it was like noon, I was pretty much done with my visit. I typed up my report and whatever, and then I got uploaded the pictures and everything, and then I went out and I took the car and I went to DC. Just went to, you know, the area. I forget what it's called, but you know, the Lincoln statue. And then the museum, I went to the aviation museum. And honestly, I'm not going to lie. I think the highlight was the steak frites that I had at this place. Dude, I'm forgetting all my names today, man. But I swear I had the best steak frites I've ever had. And I realized, I don't know what it is, man, but the East Coast, they do steak so much better. Like classic American steak, they do that so much better than anything I've had on the West Coast. I don't know if I'm just getting the wrong places here, but every place I've been to on the East Coast for steakhouse, just the level was unbelievable. And this place, oh, Ebbett, something Ebbett's Grill or something like that. But this place, I mean, it was so fast and it was just so delicious. And it was just so much better instantly than any of the steak that I've had out here in American steakhouses in California. But I'll say this, when I went back to DC, I was excited. I was excited to see parts of DC, and I'll say this: ever since I moved back from New York, I've felt like I'm missing out on New York. Like I've in a way been like, I know I need to like explore LA, but I still miss New York so much. I wish I was there. When I went to DC, dude, it was so hot. Instantly, when I was walking around there and I was sweating and I was just melting and the humidity was getting to me and it was like fucking up my mood, I immediately was reminded exactly why I didn't like New York. And when I say that, I mean everything about New York was a 10 out of 10 experience except the weather. The weather, I've never been able to understand this. I don't understand how you have such the most beautiful experience of a city in the world, and then it's just the worst weather of all time. I immediately let go of that feeling of like, I was like, I'm not living here. I'm just not. I mean, I'll visit in like the one of the 4 weeks that it's actually livable and like I'm not going to be dying sweating walking around. But I cannot live there, man. At best, when I'm a multimillionaire and I've really made it in life, I'm going to have an apartment out there that I'm going to live out there and I'm going to be bi-coastal at best, dude. But I didn't realize how awesome LA is for the weather. I mean, people talk about it all the time, but even in Phoenix, dude, it was so hot. It was a drier heat, so it was much more tolerable, but I burnt the shit out of my hands because after I finished my site visit in Phoenix, I got in the car and I put my hands on the steering wheel ready to drive, and it just burned the shit out of my hand, and I was so mad instantly. And I realized, dude, life is so good in LA. Like, not having to worry about the weather, not having to worry about like, oh, like, should I get an extra shirt? Because if I walk from one building to the next, I'm going to be drenched. In New York, I would actually do that. I would like have a shirt that I would wear while I got to work. And then when I got to work, I go to the bathroom and I change into a different shirt. And I'm sorry. I'm above that. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to fucking do that shit. Like, I want to not be influenced by the weather around me. I just can't. Like, it's just so comfortable here. I'm so comfortable. And yeah, I don't get the steakhouses. I don't get the nice cocktail lounges every 2 feet. I don't get the density of New York, but I like it better here. I never thought I would say it. I mean, I'm just healthier. I love having a car. I love having this gym. I love everything that's going on. And I don't know, maybe those things are accessible in New York at a higher price point. Maybe I can have this space there. But one thing money can't buy is the weather. You cannot buy that, man. It's so comfortable down here in LA. I mean, I was instantly reminded, like I landed in Dulles, and then the next morning it's 7 a.m. It's 7 a.m. The sun is barely up, and I'm on this job site, and I'm pouring sweat. It's 90 degrees. The weather app says it feels like 102. Why? How do you do this? How did I do it for 4.5, 5 years? But I'm glad. I'm glad I had that feeling because it was the same thing. Like when I went back to slow, I was like, you know what? I got it pretty good. I'm doing things right now. You know, let me appreciate where I'm at right now. Like I miss my friends in New York. I miss the stand up culture. I miss a lot of it, but I do not miss that weather, bro. My God. Oh, dude. Oh my! I can't believe I didn't say this. I had to take my car to the shop. When I went to Sequoia, a fucking bear scratched the shit out of my car and damaged the front bumper. I had to I don't know what happened, but and this is on me. It's completely my fault. I'm like getting angry about it, but it's completely my fault. I knew that it's like Bear Nation, but obviously me having the ego that I do, I was just like, you're not gonna get me, you know. And I left some jerky and a banana out in my car. I just didn't want to carry it with me while we hiked the sunrise thing. I was just like, fuck it, we'll just leave it here, and then we'll come back, we'll get hungry, we'll finish it off and throw it away. And also, I didn't see all the signs that were warning me. So we finished all the hike, and then we're coming back. There's daylight now. And then we're seeing all these signs like watch out for bears. It's like, please do not leave your food and valuables invisible. Please use these food storage lockers if you have to leave your food behind. And I'm like in the back of my head, I'm just like, oh man, that sucks. Like I didn't realize that it was like that. And then we get back to my car and my friend's just like, yo, what is this? And then I'm looking at it and it's like, on the side of my car, it's like scratches of like 3 to 4 lines of, I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, this is unbelievable. And I'm looking at it and it's like dented. The door's dented. And now I'm like, no. And I look in the window and I see the jerky and the banana. And I'm just like, no, I had no idea. I didn't see the signs coming up. It was just completely pitch black. And like we parked the car. And so I was like, oh, dude, like, and that was just so, I'm like, I already know that's $500 right there, because I'm not going to pay for it out of pocket. I'm just not. I'm going to file a claim because I know that as soon as I saw the dent in the door, I'm like, now it's not just filling in the thing. It's like going to be like reshaping the door. And then I saw the bumper was fucked up too. So I was like, oh, this is immediately like, now they're going to raise my rates. And it was just annoying, but I had to take my car to the shop. So I got that fixed finally. I was just in denial and I felt so bad because I'd spent so much, dude. Like, first of all, those Yay tickets were not cheap. And I didn't know that I was so late to the game. I didn't know. So I had to buy resale tickets for those. And then, I had to pay for a lot of the stuff for Zion, for all this activity that I was doing. Every week I was doing something new. So and then on top of that, I had to take like $500 to take my car to the shop. I was like, I'll just do it later and later. So eventually I got that fixed. And then I felt really bad because one of my friends noticed it, and I hate that thing, man. I hate when I see someone else and they got something, whether it's their house or their car, or even just like a pair of headphones that they own. Like if you don't take care of your things, like I get bothered by it because I'm very like, whatever I own, I'm going to take care of. I try to maintain to the best of its abilities. I get it. It's not going to remain perfect, but I really hated looking at my car, seeing those scratches and just knowing that I felt like I wasn't taking care of it. So it felt really good to finally get that fixed. Now my car looks beautiful again. I saw Obsession. That was one of the best movies I saw this year. Super. And I went to TCL Chinese Theater for the first time. Iconic venue. Really great screens for such a touristy area. I did not expect the quality of the theater to be so high up there. Shoot, I kind of want to. That was weird. Just remembering that, for some reason, I really want to grab some popcorn now and go back there. It's like just a few subway stops away too. I'm one of the few people in LA that actually uses the train. So I use it to get to work, and then I realized I could use it to get to, it drops me off right there underneath TCL Chinese Theater. So that was a really nice one. I got to, had a nice dinner there, and then walked over, caught a movie, and then just took the train back. I felt like I was in New York again. I miss that. I miss being able to take public transit like that. And I realized I've been kind of sleeping on it because people talk so much shit about the public transit in LA that I kind of just believe them without even trying it myself. It works. It works. People. Not everyone has a car. I mean and even if you do have a car, dude, like it works really well for some areas that you want to get to. I mean, it helps to live above a fucking train station, but that was nice. So I saw that. And then now see, that all was April, and then May. And I took the car to the shop in June. Saw Obsession the first week of June. And the second week of June, I hosted, my friend's super into soccer, so he convinced me to host like a pregame for watching the Korea versus Czech game. And that was awesome. I got to have that. I got to invite some people that I met from that friendship group app. And then we got pretty fucked up. Then we all came back to mine. So it was nice. I really enjoy hosting people and hosting events. And then, all in the midst of all this stuff, I've just been like getting back into fitness. So ever since I came back from, what do you call it? Well, actually, what it was, when I came back from Zion, I did get back into my routine, my gym routine and cutting, but I slipped up because I got the tattoo, and you're not supposed to really sweat as much in the first couple of weeks, at least. So I wasn't able to go to the sauna, and I didn't really want to, expose it to sunlight or to, I didn't really want to bother it. I was also really paranoid because I got a fever the first time in India. So I wanted nothing to go wrong with this tattoo. So I took a whole 3.5 weeks off from fitness. It was tough to come back from that. That routine. I got comfortable quick. The first week, the first 2 weeks, you're itching to get back into the gym. You're like, I miss this. I miss the feeling of being sore. I miss, that feeling of being in the sauna. I miss looking and feeling good. And you forget, and then for a while that, you get very comfortable. On the third week, you're very comfortable. You're like, you're not even thinking about the gym. You're just like, oh yeah, I have so much time in the day. Like, why don't I just watch a movie? Like, why don't I just pick up a game? Why don't I just, just chill at home? Why don't I just do anything except do something physical? And you have the perfect excuse. Oh, I'm not supposed to sweat, right? And he told me, you're probably good by like 10 days. But then I was just like, well, let's just keep it 2 weeks just to be sure. And then I looked online and it was just like 3 weeks. And I'm like, okay, 3 weeks. And then I was just like, let's just stretch. And then I was just like realizing that I was just dipping back into I was regressing into this person that I worked so hard, for over a year to avoid becoming. So I watched, I got my weight down. Before my friend visited for Kanye, I was down to 193.8 pounds, all-time low for me for over a decade, I want to say. And then it was so tough. I mean, ever since then, I told you, every week I was doing something new, going out, seeing different people. And then on top of that, I didn't work out after the tattoo. So I hit a peak, a 1 year peak of 206 pounds. So then I had to lock back in immediately because I was like, I am not going back. There's no fucking way that I worked so hard for almost a year, did all that cutting, all that weightlifting, all that running just to, screw it up over the course of a month. So I've been going back now, and I think I'm back down to 196 this morning. So, and I'm looking good and I'm feeling good. my legs are sore as hell. I've been getting really into, I've been trying to do one new exercise a month, and it's great because when you start aligning on the things that you're really into, what I've noticed is that your algorithm aligns with you too. Like when you're watching videos and shit, when you're doom scrolling at night, before it used to be reflective of what I was into, which was a whole bunch of nothing. And now I'm really into fitness. I'm really into cutting. I'm still into the stand up stuff, and I'm still, obviously I love cat videos. So all that stuff is there. But now that I'm like really into all this other stuff, all those videos show up now too. So like I'm seeing kettlebell workouts. This guy is like, it'll be like the fitness influencers, like, if you want abs, you got to do these 3 exercises. And it's like that shows up, and it's kind of corny. But then I'm just like, oh, I've seen somebody at my gym do this exercise. And then I'll like look up that exercise, and I'm like, okay, I'm going tomorrow anyways. I might as well try it out. And then now it's like turning into cooking videos where people are like, if you really want to, this is like a high protein meal with like low carb. Like, I used to make fun of people who would like watch these kinds of videos, but then now I'm just like, oh, that's just what they were into. You know what I mean? Like now I'm into it. Now it's not corny because I'm into it, right? So now it's cool because I'm into it. That's the ego of the consumer. But it's been nice to have the algorithm align like that, and a lot of that will come from consciously kind of turning off the things you're not really into. So if you're following a bunch of people, it's great to have your friends on social media too. And I want to see all their stuff as well. But I think I used it. I never had a filter, right? So I would just see everything that everybody was doing. But then some stuff I just didn't really care for. So but I don't want to lose the connection. So I just muted a bunch of stuff that I wasn't really interested into, but I love being connected with people still, So I just kind of put a filter on what I want to be influenced by. So once I started being proactive about the stuff that I consume, even just visually, I started seeing more inspirational content. So I started seeing more videos on sketching, on like how to shade with lines, how to do cross hatching. I started seeing more like healthy cooking videos. I started seeing more gym videos. I started seeing more tips on content creation. And it became, the overall experience became so much better for me as a consumer, because you still, as someone who creates stuff, you want to, you obviously want to create stuff, and maybe that changes how you view the stuff that you consume. Maybe you judge it or you see it in a different light, but ultimately you're a human being, and in order to create, you are influenced by other things, right? So nothing is original. You're always being influenced by whatever you take in, right? If you want to produce better stuff, then change what you're inspired by, I would say. Focus on being proactive about what you consume and being like, is this something that is positively influencing me is it inspiring me to do something that pushes me, or is it kind of just brain rot? I love brain rot too. I mean, I love brain rot, but if that's all your feed is, if all you're viewing is just like negative experiences, and that was me for a long time, because I wasn't consciously, I was just letting whatever, come in, like whether it was like people I knew, people I didn't know. And now I'm just very conscious about what I'm letting in. And it's great. The social media is so great when you actually use it to its potential. If you don't want to see something, you don't have to. And if you want to see more of something, then you can. And because of that, I've just been getting so many more ideas on what to do in the gym, in the kitchen, just ideas of like shots. I'm seeing like these like sketch comedy videos, and those are inspiring me. I'm like, this is what I think it was ultimately made to be out to use for. And it's funny because you track before social media was. I mean, it still is today, but when I was in high school and college, you had it because you wanted to stay connected with people you knew, and now it's seen as a way to build your own personal brand and to get stuff that you want to share with people. So now a majority of people that are consuming my stuff are not people that follow me. They're actually people that are seeing my stuff from Reels tab or like the For You page. It's not too many, but I love seeing the analytics because it shows you who's viewing your content, what demographic of it is, and what's working versus what isn't. It's just changed. You see a whole lot less of people that and now it's virtual. It really is. And even if you're connected with people, you don't necessarily see what they see. So it's interesting. It's just different, I guess. It's not something that I really looked into. Maybe this seems pretty obvious to a lot of people who are like tapped into this stuff, but I'm discovering it now as I go along. I had a bit of a rough start today. Wasn't feeling like doing it. But I had a bit of a push because I realized I love solo pods. I love having guests on. I had my first guest here, Ken, which was awesome. But here we go. Come here. Yeah. And now we got our second guest right here. Nice. I can't believe he hasn't done that before. He's always chilling on this table when it's set up. But yeah, I love these solo pods, man. And I was trying to aim for once a month. And it's honestly, I could do it more. I could probably do it more than once a month, but I guess sometimes I just fall into the same cyclical traps of wanting to wait for inspiration to strike. Excuse me. Wanting to I'm just waiting for things instead of going out and getting them. And that's I've been doing that for a majority of my life, and only recently have I realized that you got to put in energy to get energy. When I started this one out, I think it took me about 15 minutes to get into it, to really start feeling it. I think you'll notice when you're watching this or listening to it, whatever, my energy picks up maybe an hour in. So it took me longer to get back into this one, but it did, and again, it wasn't perfect. And there's so many things that I'm going to have to go in there and edit out, but I just did the thing, I did it regardless of whether I felt like doing it or not. I just knew that, it's not that I didn't feel inspired. It's just that I was being late. Like I was just being lazy today. Even today, I almost skipped it. I should have done this last week. Honestly, I had a free Saturday, and I just didn't. So I'm glad I did it today, man. And even though I just didn't feel like it, so many things. And my favorite thing about podcasting is that, especially these solo pods, is that things come up and you have realizations as you're doing them that you didn't really plan for or expect. And I come to realizations live on this pod with you, and I share them. So it's not scripted. I mean, I have a list like I mentioned, but I always get to remind myself every time I do it that I'm doing it because I love it. I love the feeling of doing it. And then when I go on about my day-to-day life, I feel this way about all my art that I ever do, even sketching. I haven't sketched in a month or two. Even though I know that if I sat down right now, and I started putting pen to paper, I wouldn't get up from the seat for like 3 to 4 hours. I know that, and I still don't. Getting to do the thing is pretty tough. And I don't know why. All I know is that the more you train yourself to do it anyways, the easier it becomes to do it. And the more you do it and the less you think about the outcome, the more success you're going to find just by sheer number of things you're putting out. So, he looks so peaceful. This guy's great, man. He's being sassy. He always looks at me. This is how he looks at me when I'm watching TV. It's funny. Sometimes he just like lays on my chest and looks directly into my soul as I'm watching a movie for like 3 hours. And other times he goes to my feet and watches the movie with me. But he's always such a vibe, dude. I love cats so much. Anyways, it's holy shit. Is it really 9? Damn. I was hoping I'd have a little bit more daylight, but this is fine. I haven't eaten anything today. Yeah, I think I'm going to call it. All right, well, you want to turn to the camera? There you go. There you go. This guy scratched up the table too. I can't even stay mad at him. He scratched up my nice couch, my nice reclining chair. He sheds everywhere. All my drinks have cat fur in them. He's broken so many things. He's ripped apart my paper towels. He's fucked up my clothes. Can't stay mad though. Can never stay mad. You think we're sharing a moment right now, but he just wants food. But you can't stay mad. He's just a cat.